All right. Welcome everyone to our Desires of the Heart panel, the What Women Need edition. I am super excited. It's Theodora Voss here, and we have some phenomenal women on the line with us today. First of all, I just have to say, number one, thank you to everybody that has joined the panel today. It has been a long time coming getting us all on one panel at the same time. I've learned about technology through this process, about what you can and can't do on Instagram. So we finally figured out what we can do here on YouTube and Facebook Live. So I'm super excited to have everybody on the call. So just real quick, I'm going to give a little bit of background about myself, and then I want y'all to hear from some of the ladies, and we will go ahead and introduce ourselves individually, right? So my name is Theodora. I come from a financial background. I used to actually be in the tech industry for a very, very long time. I found that finance and relationships were the things that were pain points for a lot of people. So I decided to focus on finance and relationships because they go hand in hand and making sure relationships really thrive and flourish and prosper. And so now I'm bringing that over, to my career and making sure that others never go through what I went through from having been married before, from having now been a divorcee, right? So how do you have your financial house in order? And so I'm grateful that we can talk about some of these topics that are really near and dear to our hearts, and just really get vulnerable and get real about some of the things that we think and that we feel. So I want to go ahead and let the ladies, we'll start with Christy from the top. If you could just introduce yourself, who you are, and just tell us all the amazingness that you have.
Yeah, so thank you, first of all, Thea. This was a great opportunity. So I'm Christy. I'm originally from Inglewood, California. That's how I actually connected with Thea. We went to high school together. And throughout being in LA, getting education and using relationships as a way to really elevate my career and also just my life in general. My education was around health and wellness. So finally moving to Arizona, getting my master's in public health, and then moving to Atlanta to do a job at Emory, and then transitioning over as a health educator at the Board of Health in Fulton County. It's been great to just see the transitions of how health has really been useful in people's lives and how people have also been able to take autonomy of their health in different ways. I think my main focus in health and wellness is looking at how spiritual health is a direct connector to how we see, think, and feel things all around us. So it's been a great journey. And being only 28, I know that I have a long way to go. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yes, awesome. I appreciate you so much for being on the live. Yes, we're from Inglewood, always up to no good. Whoop, whoop.
Always.
Always. And then Fontaine, if you could just go ahead and share with the world, like Fontaine has, first of all, y'all, a powerful story, but if you could just share what you do with everyone and who you are.
Okay, my name is Fontaine Thompson. I am in and from the ATL, and I am a mental health coach, and I also am an advocate for suicide prevention, and that's what my specialty is in mental health and all about preventing suicide. And my thing about suicide is like talking to teenagers because I dealt with mental health issues and suicidal thoughts when I was a teenager. So that's why I want to focus on it, because I didn't know a lot about mental health as a teenager. So I want to focus on young adults and teaching them about mental health and exactly what it is and how to deal with mental health when things happen to you in your life as you get older. So that's my focus. And I'm also a public speaker, and I speak about mental health. So yeah, that's my specialty. And I'm a person, my niche is that I don't sugarcoat. So as a speaker, I like to give you the real deal, because it's life or death when it comes to mental health. So that's my niche. And the fact that I'm using my own story. My thing is about being a speaker is I never want to go on someone's stage and not know what I'm talking about. So I speak on my own experience that I have had with mental health.
That's awesome. That's really good stuff. See, authenticity is really important when you have a public platform because people really need to know that when you talk to them, you're talking to them from a real place and from somewhere that they can relate to. And we have a responsibility when we are speaking on these stages to really give give our authentic selves to folks, because that just makes all the difference, right? Now, I have Miss Crystal Toilette on the line. Whoop, whoop. She's here in Texas with me, so, got to claim Texas a little bit too. You want to go ahead and introduce everybody or introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, my name is Crystal Toilette. I am from Hot Springs, Arkansas, but I have been residing in the wonderful Dallas-Fort Worth area for 18 years now. I enjoy my career as a real estate professional, and I am, of course, now a published author. And both go hand in hand because it all starts with the foundation of building a relationship and communication. And so my job is just to educate and empower, and that's just really what my goal is.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm really glad that each and every one of you can be on this live today, because there's going to be unique perspectives and a lot of good value shared. So let's get right into it. So how we did this, because I like to be very transparent with the method to the madness. I didn't just come up with questions out of thin air, right? How do we do this? How do we come up with desires of the heart? So I have a search engine that I use that you can search what other people are searching, right? So when it came to what women need, I was searching what are other people searching about what women need. And I parsed it down to a few areas, and the ladies on this panel were so kind as to actually fill out a survey ahead of time. And so what I did was I took all of those answers to that survey and created the averages for each answer. And based on those averages, that's what we are going to talk about today. So first, I do want to go through the ratings. We're not going to talk about all of the ratings. We're only going to talk about the ones that are of like the highest priority. But in the spirit of transparency and authenticity, I'm going to share all the ratings real quick as we go through. And my answers are included in this as well. So these are the ratings that were less than a 7. So be in a relationship. I have to be in a relationship and have a companion. That actually came out to a 6.2. I was really happy about that. I was like, go ladies, when I saw that one. Blinder sex. So blinder sex is the kind of sex that keeps you blind to any temptations. When horses run races, they actually wear blinders so they don't get distracted. So that came out to a 6.2. Career established. I need to have my career established before I can be in a committed relationship. We got a 6.2 for that. A man that can cook in the kitchen, wrist twisting like a stir-fried egg. So we got a 2, right? So those are the ratings that are less than 7. So not so important in the grand scheme of things, right? Now, ratings that got less than an 8. Space. This is a big one. I need to be able to do things separate of my partner. We have our own interests as well as joint interests. That one came out to about a 7.2. Be financially secure to commit. My money can't be funny before I get into a relationship. Don't confuse this with career established. Career established could actually mean that you have chosen your career path. You know who you are and where you're going in your career, but you're not necessarily financially secure yet. That one we got as a 7.2. Now, ratings less than a 9. So emotional intimacy. So that's an 8.8, right? Praise and approval. Receiving praise and approval from my partner, 8.6. Lots of sex. Having lots of sex is of the utmost importance. Give it to me on the regular, 8.6. Romance, 8.6. Physical touch, non-physical or non-sexual touches. So a hug, a pat on the back, hand holding, a little booty smack, physical closeness that doesn't only lead to sex, right? So that's an 8.4. I tried not to laugh when I said that last part, but it happened anyway. So admiration from my partner, 8.2, right? Now, ratings greater than or equal to 9. So these are the ones that we're going to focus on for the first half. And if we have time, we'll go back to the ones that are around 8. So the first one being respect, right? An act of giving particular attention, consideration. My partner respects me. That was a 10. So let's start with that. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so I can see y'all's faces a little bit better. So when it comes to respect, right? The message said an act of giving particular attention, consideration. My partner respects me. So we all obviously put that one as a 10. So who would like to kind of start when it comes to respect and why that is such a vital point of a relationship, especially from our perspective?
I'll go first. And like I said, when I'm speaking, I'm mostly speaking for myself because I can't speak for nobody else. But when it comes to, I'm the type of person, if you disrespect me, especially in the dating phase, I'm like, my friends know me as the scissor lady. I will cut you off because I feel like I just turned 34 on the 3rd. In our 30s, you should know what's disrespectful and what's respectful. So it's like if you do something as a grown man in his 30s, it's like, hold on, wait, you don't see that as being disrespectful? I'll cut you off because I don't take well to disrespect from anyone, especially not my partner, who I'm definitely supposed to receive that from. Mm-hmm. You know, if you can't respect me, why are we doing this? You know, like, I want to know that you respect me as a woman first. You know, of course, a person, but as a woman, you're a woman. Because my thing is with respect is, if you'll disrespect me, that means you'll allow somebody else to disrespect me too. I need to feel secure. And I feel like women, any woman will agree with me on that. If you're disrespecting me, how can I feel secure with you? And if I allow you to do that and don't say anything, or if I allow you to disrespect me and I don't approach you about it right then and there, and I let it continue, then it's like, okay, I'm not taking up for myself at that point, you know. And if I allow you to do it, then you won't know that you hurt me or you're disrespecting me, and you'll continue to do it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And Fontaine, I have a quick question for you on that. So when it comes to, as far as, because communication was also a big thing on our list as well as a number 10, and all ladies, feel free to chime in on this one. How do y'all feel about, because, okay, respect, I feel like can be subjective, depending on who or how you've grown up or your background. So how would y'all define respect, you know, with your partner? How do you go about approaching that conversation? Because I think sometimes we assume that because it seems like a broad, like, I feel like there's general things that are respectful, there's general things that are disrespectful, but sometimes there's those things that maybe a cultural difference or maybe a household upbringing would say that this is not necessarily disrespect to that person, but it's disrespect to me. So how would you go about communicating that with your partner per se?
Well, for me, I would definitely say something when it first happens, but it's always a thing about the approach. You know, you definitely don't want to go off in public or do anything around your friends and family. You definitely want to wait till y'all are alone with approaching it and talking about it. I know for our culture as Black people, we definitely don't want to be called out our names by our significant others. So that's something that's extremely disrespectful, you know. I think that's across the board with cultures. Like, women don't want to be called out their names. I can't really think of nothing else. If you guys got anything else that's disrespectful, I can, not off the top of my head, but I think that's like at the top when it comes to disrespect towards a woman. Like, we get called out our names a lot by men that we don't know. So you definitely don't want to be called out of your name by a man that you're supposed to be in the bed with, that you love, that's supposed to be caring for you. You know, how can you take care of me if you're disrespecting me? That's not taking care of me. That's not taking care of my emotions, my mental health. You know?
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. Any ladies, go ahead.
I feel like you should definitely be respectful of when you're just having a conversation and you're both trying to get your point across. In general, not cutting the other person, you know, not cutting me off. You know what I mean? Actually hearing what I'm saying, instead of hearing and retaining what I'm saying, opposed to just in one ear and out the other. You're just kind of getting through just to kind of get through whatever the situation is. So I think it definitely starts, and that's, you know, you'll learn that in the courting phase, I guess, just as you're talking about different things and different opinions come up, how do they respond to whatever your opinion is if it's different from theirs, you know? So I think it definitely starts with that communication. I mean, the calling out of the name and things like that, of course, no one, you know, yeah, definitely. I don't allow people to raise their voices at me. Like, I'm not raising my voice at you. Don't raise yours at mine. Like, talk to me in the same kind of manner, you know? So I think it starts, you know, in that manner, just in casual conversation. How do they respond? If I'm talking to you, are you looking at me? Are you looking me in the eyes? Are your eyes wandering? Like, are you giving me that attention, that respect as me, just in general, as a person just talking to you? You know what I mean? So I think it can start there as well.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Christy, you have anything you want to add to that? That was really good.
Yeah.
By the way, about the courting phase, I really like that part.
Fontaine and Crystal, I definitely second that. I think that sometimes the problem is, and I'm always looking at things through a health and wellness lens, but I think the issue is sometimes we have to find what we do to respect ourselves. Because if we can hold ourselves accountable for, you know what, I know the things that I won't tolerate. I know how I want to be treated. I know what I deserve as a woman. And so when a man or any partner enters your space, he can see that through your essence, through your presence, how you walk, how you move, how you interact with other people, and how they respect you based on your aura, based on your presence and things that you have presented for yourself and the things that you've accomplished for yourself. So I think that a testament to how a partner approaches you can say, wow, I wouldn't even want to step to her with any level of disrespect, because look at how she protects and carries herself. Look at how she respects and honors herself as a woman. And so when you set the tone early on who you are and how you respect yourself, it can definitely play a role in how people are going to be able to gravitate towards you and show you that level of respect that you have already gained for yourself.
Right. That's all right. And I know you're going to go to the next question. I just want to piggyback on what she said, because she said in the courting stage, because one of my good friends, she taught me you do have to kind of teach the person you're dating how you are. So that way, when you get into a relationship and you get into a marriage, then they know you, you know. But I know for me, one of the biggest questions, like, because I'm single, I'm not in a relationship or anything. So it's like, I feel like I'm a professional dater, y'all. So it's like, one question I do get asked by a lot of guys when I'm out here dating is like, what's your deal breakers? You know, and I tell them the ultimate no-no is putting me in a situation with another woman. Because if you ever get to a point when it's between me or her, pick her, you know, because I'm not going to sit here and allow you to be tennis back and forth between two women. Because if I find out, I'm out. I'm mad. I don't want to be bothered with you no more. I'm done. You know, the cheating and playing games, you got to know what you want, you know. So I would tell a guy that in the beginning so he can know this is a boundary I don't deal with. So when it happens later on down the line, if it's 6 months down the line or it's a year down the line and we've been good all this time and then he cheats, hey, I told you in the beginning, you know what's going to happen, right? I'm out. I'm not that type of woman that's going to stay. Because if I stay, that means I'm showing you that, oh, it's cool, baby. We can work through this. And then 5 years later, you're going to do it again. Am I going to forgive you again because I forgave you the first time? I'm not going to teach you to do that to me. So I'm out the first time you do it. So when they ask, that's a deal breaker for me. I can't stay after you cheated because I got to build this trust up again. I thought we went through that already.
That's valid because, like, Fontaine, I have a friend that goes through some stuff, and one of the pieces of advice I told her when it comes to taking somebody back is like, if you can forgive them and not punish them in the process, then you can stay. But if you can't forgive them and without punishing them, then you don't need to be there, right? So when we forgive, like, forgiveness is for us. It's not for the other person, right? So forgiveness is for our spirit. And if we can still stay and be around when that's happening, then great. And we can do it with all stuff on the table, then great. You said something also really key. You said boundaries. So this is a book that I really like. This book is fire. It's called Boundaries in Dating. There's a basic boundaries too, where it's just like building up your own personal boundaries to start with. But the Boundaries in Dating really talks about like creating those boundaries, because while we are in the dating world, we do have freedom and responsibility, and people seem to really like the freedom part, but they don't know how to go ahead and let that responsibility part be a big factor. Because when you have freedom like that, you have to be responsible with it. So setting your boundaries, as you alluded to, is one of the first ways to make sure that you're respected in this scenario. That was really good, Fontaine.
Set them and to stay consistent with them. Yeah, set your boundaries and stay consistent, especially if you're dating, like, you know, whoever you're dating and you're going on multiple dates, you set the standard in the beginning. You got to stay consistent along the way, because they're going to try. They're going to try to push the boundaries, whatever they are. It doesn't matter. They can agree with you in the very beginning, but along the way, they are going to try and see how far they can push you. And every time, if you're letting go a little bit, they're going to continue. And then before you know it, you've either, you know, given it up, the boundary, whatever that is.
Breaking rules that you knew you weren't supposed to be breaking.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think too, sometimes as women, we forget to have, I always have like, I compartmentalize a lot. That's just kind of how I see the world a lot. And I always leave room for error and mistakes. I think sometimes as women, we kind of lay down our, I don't want this, and you better do this, and this.
Nobody's
and then
perfect, right?
And then we forget that, wait, but I'm going to have a time where I'm going to do this, and this, and I might have some control issues that I'm going to express eventually. And he might see my true colors in about 6 to 8 months. And so that room for error is very important. We have to have a level of humility to say, you know what? I know I don't want this, and I know that I respect myself to set these boundaries, but I also know that I'm going to fall short. And so are you, because I would hate to see a perfect relationship. I don't know what that looks like unless it's between God and the Father, right? So outside of that, as humans, we will mess up, men and women included. And going in with that level of you bet not will also leave room for us to say, "Ooh, but we just did." And then now we're both at a level of just vulnerability and transparency to say, you know what, my bad. And that level of forgiveness, right? To say, okay, I know that there's going to be times where I fall short and you fall short, but how are we going to use that emotional maturity to get through it? Because my parents been married for 32 years, and they have never measured their success on marriage on the things they did right. They've always measured their level of success on how they got through the things that they did wrong.
That's valid. That's so valuable, because you know what? I read this one devotional because I like to read when I'm focused on a topic. I like to read about it, and the devotional was about dating, right? And one of the things that it says about dating is that dating is not just about trying to find a mate. Dating is about seeing if you can learn how to love someone deeply, right? And sometimes it's loving them through those things. And we're in a generation where we're real quick to be like, you know, you messed up, I'm done with you. But if marriage is your ultimate goal at some stage, you do have to, again, there's hard boundaries that really should be a line drawn in the sand. I really believe that, like the putting on of hands, the calling of names, the emotional manipulation, financial manipulation, that stuff should not occur within a marriage. It should be course corrected 100%. But like just the little things. I once heard this one time that the things that you love about someone in the courting phase could ultimately be the things that like drive you crazy about them not in a good way in the like long-term relationship phase. So there does need to be room for some sort of, you know, give and take when it comes to, okay, I love you at this level. Can I love you through, you know, other things as well? So that's really good stuff, Christy. How long have your parents been married?
32 years. It'll be 33 in March.
Wow, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I don't think, and unfortunately for a lot of Black women, sometimes we haven't been able to see what a real marriage looks like. Some of my friends have just been exposed to a marriage because it's their first time being married, or some of my friends have only been exposed to marriage through their friendship they've seen, or the Facebook lives where they're showing, you know, I just got married, or showing rings on Facebook. But I've seen a marriage day in and day out. And I'm blessed because of that, because it's just taught me that sometimes these things that women think they want, when you get into a marriage, you stretch, you just do naturally. And you can stretch in both good and bad ways, but I think it's just a testament to like who you think you are going in and who you become when you're actually in a committed relationship.
That's true, because along the way, if you sought out the right partner, they should be your helpmate when it comes to, you know, achieving your purpose, when it comes to, and if you're a believer or not, whether or not, but they're supposed to help you achieve your purpose in your life's work and in your faith as well. So yeah, you do have to kind of stretch and be, you know, you do become somebody else at the end of the day. you grow from it. That's good stuff, Christy.
Sorry, ladies, my modem went out.
Hey, we got you back though.
Have we moved on to another question?
No, we were kind of still sitting in that because that was really good. The part about
respect
and about respect. Yeah. So now I do want to kind of move on to the next phase because I think this is a big deal for us. It's the communication piece because this was a 10. So I'm not assuming it just was what it says on the screen. So it says connecting and using your verbal, written, and physical skills to fulfill your partner's needs. It's about understanding your partner's point of view and offering support as well, right? So let's talk about communication. Let's communicate about communication. So I guess, okay, let's kick this off. Christy, you want to start? Who wants to start, actually?
Yeah, since you threw my name out there, I'll set the tone. So I think for communication, for me, I communicate to listen and not respond, but listen and understand. And I know that's hard to do. It's a skill and I'm still learning through it, but I think that that's big in communication is not just waiting on, him just talking just to, yep, okay, I heard what you said, but listen, this is me. This is what I feel. And it doesn't allow for you to actually see it from his perspective or from your partner's perspective. It's more so seeing it to just hear yourself. So I think with communication, you really have to have an ear for what that person is saying. Something that I see my parents doing a lot is they'll say something and then my dad will be like, okay, so how did you hear what I just said? My mom will say it. My dad's like, that's not even what I said. And she'll do the same thing. And then she will be like, no, that's not, so really hearing them when they're saying, you know what, I just don't want the time to talk today. And instead of assuming that, well, you got some personal with me, hear that they just need the space for themselves. So it's really just hearing to really understand and see it from their perspective rather than just responding to what you think is true.
That's really good. Yeah, listening to understand, not to respond, not to react, not to rebuttal, not to refute.
And it's hard. It's hard to do because emotions stir quickly and you just want to make them really really feel you. But you can have words will have its own feeling. So just let the words and let the emotion come through in a mature way as much as you can. I know it's hard sometimes, but we can do it.
Yeah. Well, and then there's this expression. So you guys know we have the ego, right? And I heard that ego I heard it once put like this, that it stands for edging God out. And so a lot of times when our egos take over, that's when the emotions and then the defensive reactions, our natural default, maybe not so good defense mechanisms can, overcome our ability to communicate, right? So if we're having that issue where we're getting defensive and emotional, we got to check, are we trying to communicate for us or are we trying to communicate to understand, to really, like you said, see where the other person is coming from? That's good stuff. Yeah.
I know for me, when I think of communication, that's like I said, I feel like I'm a professional dater. So when I'm talking to guys and they ask, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a man that can be verbal, because I don't know if you guys feel this, you ladies feel this way, but I feel like for our Black men, because that's what I'm gonna speak for, because that's the only kind I date. They're not known to be good communicators. They don't open up. And that's why it's extremely important for a guy I'm with, in a relationship with, to be verbal. Like, he cannot be scared to talk to me, because the one thing you do not want to do is I find out something that I should have found out from you. I don't want to be in the dark about anything that I should have known about. I tell that to I got a 14-year-old daughter. She's my only child. Same thing with her. I have an open door policy. I don't want to hear it from no one else. Something I should have heard from you, from your mouth to me. So when I think about communication, I think of it in those terms. Like, not always communication as far as like when there's a problem, we talk. I feel like anybody should know that. But just day-to-day stuff, you know, I just look at communication as that. Like, I don't want to be lost. I need to know also, if I hurt your feelings, you need to tell me, because guess what? If you don't, I'm gonna do it again, because I didn't know I did something wrong. So it's the same thing with me. If you do something to hurt me, even though I know you didn't do it intentionally, I'm still going to tell you it made me feel some type of way, because I don't want you to do it again. That's the process of getting to know somebody when you're dating, because you got to teach somebody how to treat you, you know? So I look at communication like that, just being verbal and being open. I just don't want to be in the dark about anything that's important, you know?
I think in, you know, with your communication, you definitely want to be as clear and concise as you possibly can when you're saying things. And when you see that there is like a miscommunication kind of coming about out of that, you just have to kind of repeat back, like, okay, you said this is what I heard you say. Is that how you know, is that how you meant it? You kind of got to go back to the whole, like, treat it like a job description, like, you know what I mean? So that you can make sure that you let them understand that you heard what they said, but this is how I received it. Is this the, you know, was this the intent behind what you said? And it can be yay or nay. And, you know, if it's not, then they can, you know, you guys can communicate that and get that together. But I think that when communicating, you definitely want to pay attention to the body language that the person is giving, because they can say one thing, but they're doing another. You know, and so sometimes, you know, especially in the beginning, you can't check it right there or see about it right there. You have to kind of let it go and see if it kind of happens again, and how that sits with you. But then if you see that it's causing you can feel a change in someone's mood or in yours with whatever was said. So you definitely you gotta pay attention and then bring it up in a non-attacking manner, and kind of be careful with your tone, just because I'm very direct. I can be so direct and just say whatever it is I need to say. And sometimes that can come off, you know, a certain kind of way to certain people, depending on their sensitivity level. And sometimes you won't know it until you're in that, you know, in that situation. So I just think that you should definitely communicate however it is you're communicating, but pay attention to how that person is receiving it. And they might not be ready to talk about how that made them feel or whatever at that point, but it will come back around. And so you might let them sit on it and bring it up at another time, and then they'll probably be more upfront with, you know, how that kind of made you feel. Because, you know, I learned so much in my job as a real estate professional, because we can sit there and go over all the checklists of what it is that they want, you know, in their home, what they need, what they desire, all of that. And then you're showing it to them, and they're not like, the vibe is not like the same as it was when, you know, you first talked about it. And you kind of, I have to pay attention to that, you know, and bring it up when we're having those conversations. I kind of let them go through the motions when we're there, but when we're actually talking about possibly putting in an offer, or just kind of, you know, just going over things, and I say, well, hey, you know, you told me you wanted this, but every time I present it to you, you have something kind of negative to say, or you have like a concern with it. So I just feel like maybe that's not really what you want. And then when you say it like that, then they start thinking like, oh yeah, you know what, kind of right. You know, sometimes you got to baby step people, you know, a lot of the times, and you just got to have patience with it, you know, and try to give them the same amount that you would want on the receiving end, you know. So just try to treat them how you want to be treated, because that situation, or maybe not that situation, but something similar will come up at another point in time. And if you don't want someone speaking to you or handling it in a certain kind of manner, you want to try to do unto others as you would want done unto you the first time around, so that you don't get that back. So that's why that whole, I'm very clear with what I say, and I'm very direct. Sometimes I hold back a little bit, because I'm like, how would I don't want anybody saying that to me like later down the line. So sometimes I have to stop myself, but then sometimes you just got to let it go, and I'll just take it when it comes, you know.
Sometimes it needs to be, you need to let your freak flag fly and just let it go and say whatever it is.
Someone has to say it.
Yeah.
I know the thing she said about sometimes you have to babysit people and the patience go hand in hand, because when you think about kids and babysitting, you have to have patience with them. And with adults, you have to have patience with them too when it comes to communicating, because I would want somebody to have patience with me for sure, because I know it's things about me that I need to work on, but I want to give someone else that same respect, and I'm learning to do that. You know, like the last relationship I was in, whenever he was a great communicator. That was one of my favorite things about him. He was verbal just like I was. Whatever he had going on, if he was feeling some type of way, I never worried or wondered what was going on with him, because he always told me. I never even had to ask. He was so upfront with me. I'm like, am I talking to myself? Like, you talk just like I do. Like, he talks. So, but when he would get in certain situations where things weren't good for him, he would shut off. And that's what a lot of men do. And they don't want to talk about it. So I would know something was wrong, but I would not ask him about it. I gave him patience. I took a step back, because when it's something sensitive, I allow people to come to me with it. I allow you to tell me what you want me to know. And I learned that from him. I didn't know that before him. But with him, I was doing things differently because I was in love. So I was like, okay, Fontaine, you know what you should do? You should wait till he comes to you. Because if I trust that we have this type of relationship, because I'm verbal, you're verbal, he's going to tell me. And he did. I gave him space and time. No matter when he came to me, it doesn't matter, because that's not my thing. It don't matter when you come to me, because it's your business to tell me. But I'm going to let you choose if you want to tell me. And I gave him patience. I took a step back and I was like, okay, when and whenever you want to tell me, I'm here when you're ready to talk. You know, it wasn't a situation that I needed to know right then and there. It wasn't life or death. I didn't have to know right then and there. It was his business and his situation. It didn't have anything to do with our relationship, but it was something that hurt him. So whenever he was ready to come talk to me, he did. So I learned that from that relationship. I learned patience from him.
I think that's awesome to reflect on the things that men have did right to then cultivate what you want a man of forever to be. Mm-hmm. Because I think that sometimes as women, we focus on all the things that men did wrong, and then we kind of go into the next thing thinking that it's going to be the same outcome. Mm-hmm. But in a lot of my relationships, there's a lot of things that they did right and that I did wrong. Mm-hmm. And so when I think about, wow, you know, when I take all those things that they did right, I can really begin to learn from those situations and say, okay, I liked that. When he did that in the past, I want that again. And I want that, of course, even better. But those are some things that I can value and take into a new relationship, and not just all the bad things. So I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that perspective 100%, because there are plenty of things. It's funny because hearing y'all, you know, talk about how like men can kind of shut down when it comes to communication. I feel like when it comes to communication, I'm actually more in line with personally as to how I communicate is I'm more in line with actually not necessarily expressing. I'm not the best with expressing how I feel or like verbally. Like I'm more along the lines of like, okay, I can express it physically. Like I can give you a hug and you know that things are okay. I'll give you a pat on the back and you know, like, you know, you kind of know through my physical touch, but it's very hard for me when it comes to the communication piece, which is funny. Communications background, the communications is the hardest part. So how would y'all like recommend, because so being vulnerable is very challenging, right? And I know that there's probably some other women on that are listening or other men here that are listening too that feel like how I feel, where it can be very hard and uncomfortable to actually share how you feel. What can they maybe do to, well, first, okay, one thing I'll say for the partners that have people that are like this, is that we need to feel safe in order to be able to share this certain types of information. Because I have been in situations where I feel like if I share that this is going to be detrimental, or I'm going to be attacked, or I won't be able to openly share my thoughts. So for the partners that are listening, definitely like make sure that you provide a space where they feel like they can come to you and talk to you. But for us to also own it, because I like what Christy and also what Crystal said about owning, the internal stuff first. How would somebody like myself or anybody else listening, begin to start sharing and being more open and vulnerable?
And you said exactly what I said before. I'm sorry. Were you asking, Christy? I'm sorry.
I was asking.
I think it was general.
General question.
I know you said the exact same thing I said the last time we spoke about the safe place. Mm-hmm. And remember, I told you with my daughter, she's a teenager, so I set up our number one rule with me and her is I have an open door policy, meaning whenever you come and you say, "Mommy, I need to talk," I stop whatever I'm doing. Nyla can come right here, stand right. She in her room right now. She can come right here and be like, "Mommy, I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna close the laptop. I'm out, y'all," because she's top priority. If she got something to tell me, I'm stopping everything I'm doing for her, and she knows that. So I'm setting the space for her to know, Mommy got your back. So you need to do the same thing in your relationship. Set the place up in your relationship so your partner can know, oh, I can always tell him stuff, or I can always talk to her because she's an open person. Like, she listens really good. If you're consistent, there's that word again. If you're consistent with being a great listener, a great person that gives great advice, they're going to always feel safe to come to you. One of the things I ask guys that I'm dating, tell me something you don't usually tell people, and that'll let me know if they're open enough to tell me. And it depends on what they tell me to see if I'm that person to them. Like, do you feel safe telling me stuff? And I've heard some stories when I ask guys that, and sometimes they tell me stuff. I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, you must really like me to tell me something like that. Like, so yeah, like you said, I just use the example for my daughter. I set the place up. It's like setting a table. It's welcoming. When you see a table setting, it's welcoming. You want to sit there and you want to eat at a nice table that's set up really nice. So you have to do the same thing in your relationships. Set it up so where that person can know and feel good to come to you with sensitive stuff and things that make them feel vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. If I don't feel safe in the situation, you're not going to get anything that sensitive from me. You're going to get surfaced, and that comes just starting with the communication, just casual conversation. How are you receiving whatever it is I'm saying about whatever it is we're talking about? That stuff kind of builds up along the way. And that kind of lets me know if I can be vulnerable with you in that moment or in a moment, whatever that is. And if I have learned that I can't open up to you in that manner, then I won't. Like, you're going to have to show me a whole lot. You can't just say, hey, open up to me or something like that. I got to see actions behind all of that. Because, are you even really care about what it is that I have to say? You know what I mean? Because I don't like to talk about feelings and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm just so honest and I can just let it be known. But in other times I am not. And you got to pull stuff out of me. So if I get to a point to where I am super comfortable and I'm ready to share, and I do share, and then you do something that makes me feel a certain kind of way, and let me tell you, some people I can come back from it and it's fine, but others I just can't, and that would be all she wrote, and then you won't get nothing else from me. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of how it is. We can be surface all day, and then in that manner, then there's no relationship that's going to come from this, Mm-hmm. We'll have to part ways.
Mm-hmm. I just want to mention that it's so refreshing to sometimes see women that aren't as overtly emotional, because I think that that's usually the narrative, is that, oh, the woman's gonna be, so emotional and always pouring out. And I have a hard time with doing that too. I'm not always gonna be the first to talk about my feelings in the room. So I think that sometimes me being more direct is something I'm practicing, but also I like the kind of partner that can just read me. Thea, you said something like sometimes it's just the pat on the back, the hug, which are all forms of communication. The puppy dog face, just sometimes the body language. I just want my partner to feel me enough to know that if I'm not saying something's wrong, it's something about my aura that something is bothering me. And I'm hoping that he can set that table of creating a space for me to get to talking about it. So I think communication is also like, we love a good read. I love a good read. Like, yeah, she could read, but how well are you reading me in that moment? How well are you seeing me in that moment? And are you just waiting for me to say something? Or are you going to create a space where there's probing, guiding questions and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And I can say this and just being I'm big on emotional maturity. People walking around making it seem like their age and their maturity are the same age. It's like, no, late 30s, early 40s does not mean your maturity level is that same age. I mean, there's probably a lot of things that we always need to work through. And so if a partner for me can be emotionally mature to see that and have the level of emotional intelligence to really read and see me, it's a wrap, child. And I don't know where he at, so if y'all got any suggestions, okay? But no, really, I mean, I think that's so important, is really reading me.
Yeah, I didn't think he existed, but I have one, and I'm like, how did you know that? Why did you? You're like, how did you know I was sad a little bit right now? But so, go ahead.
Listen, some years ago, I was at this. I think it was my birthday, and we went to this place on Lower Greenville. This like bar situation they had. It was like a lounge, and my friend was talking to someone at the time, and he brought his friend or cousin. I can't recall, and it was crazy to me. Like, I don't like situations like that. And it always feels like it's a lot of pressure. Like you got to like that person or entertain them or something like that. And so I always kind of already have a wall kind of up. But he had asked me something, and this dude read me like we've been knowing each other for like years. He was just like, oh, I see why you acting like this because blah, 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 blah. It wasn't like a getting on me, but it was like he like saw me. It was the craziest thing. I was like, yeah, I'm still not interested, but it freaked me out. I mean, he could read that situation so clearly. So, I mean, I just had to throw that in. It was just the weirdest thing, but sometimes people just have it. They're able to do it. Others, you got to coach them along the way, or they just got to figure it out. Or somebody just got to come out and be like, yo, what's wrong? Something's up, You might not want to say it now, but I know something's not right. I mean, that's just communication in general. I had a friend who I could tell something was wrong. I could feel it. And I said something, and, my friend didn't really want to speak on it. I could tell. And, as soon as I said something, that person's demeanor changed. And I was like, it's okay. You don't have to say anything. I'm here if you need me. We can talk about it then. Let's just, do whatever it is, we're doing. So sometimes you can just let it be known, and I'm here when you're ready. And then, ask me if I want something to eat or something. Like, whatever it is that makes me smile, let's do that. And then I'll open up when I'm ready, because sometimes tears are going to come. I don't like crying, and in front of people too. So, yeah, sometimes, no, I'm not going to say nothing. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I do have a question because, yes, we want somebody to be able to read us, but where is the fine line between okay, us speaking up and somebody just knowing, because we get accused sometimes as women of wanting men to be able to read our minds, right? So yeah. Where's the borderline?
Listen, you have to learn each other, and you have to allow room, especially in the very beginning. You're not going to know anything until a situation kind of pops up. And then so you just have to kind of take it for what it is, whatever it was, pull it, you kind of put it to the side, you know what I mean? And then you'll start to see a pattern possibly or whatever. But that's really, you have to learn each other. And when things come up and that something happened or was said, or an emotion, something that was done made you feel a certain kind of way, I mean, honestly, you owe it to yourself to say something just like, hey, I know you probably didn't mean this by it, but when you said this, this is how I felt, or when I saw you do that, I felt the kind of ways. And everybody knows what it made me feel a certain kind of way kind of means, you know what I mean? And so then, but you have to own it and, you know, verbalize it. I mean, because yeah, people can't read minds, and sometimes you can feel it, but can't read, you know, whatever it is. So until you really say something or it just comes to a head, no one's gonna know. So yeah, I don't want to act like you should know, but if we've been in these situations, you know, numerous times, then now you know how I respond to these. So now it's you should know that in this situation, this is how I'm probably going to act if this is what happened. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get specific, but you know what I'm talking about. So I just feel like you gotta learn each other and just, you know, bring it up when you first see it, so that you don't let it just kind of sit and build. You know what I mean? So it won't be like came out of nowhere. No, actually, I felt a certain kind of way the first time you did it, but I just didn't say nothing because I didn't, you know, I had to find out if this was like a one-time thing or if this is going to be an ongoing thing. You know what I mean? So just save yourself some trouble and just go ahead and bring it up. Don't nag about it, but you just got to bring it up. You can bring it up as jokingly as you possibly can, and pay attention when people are jokingly saying things to you, because they could really be telling you. You got to listen, man. People will tell you. You got to listen to what they're saying and what they're not saying. Like, it's just what it is. You hate to have to do that, but we're human, and that's how it is. So you just got to pay attention.
That's so true. When people are joking, that's how I found out many of things from a couple good jokes, right? No, they were really the truth though. So
yeah, I'm like, you made this joke, you know, and cracked it a little one too many times. Is there something behind this, you know?
Yeah, what you trying to say? Say what
exactly. What you really mean.
Okay, let's pivot now away from communication and on to sexual connection. So actually, no, before we do that, let's do this because we were already kind of on a similar topic. Security, right? So I need to feel physically and emotionally safe with my partner. That was a 9.8. And since we're kind of in that realm already, why don't we kind of talk about security and needing to feel safe with our partners? What does that mean?
I think I'm still figuring that out. And I think that's okay. Because I know that when I feel, and I just go by relationships in general to kind of give a idea of what I would want in a partner just by the relationships I have right now. And I think safety for me means that I can go to you in the good times. I can go to you in the bad times. But also, I was in a relationship where a guy was reading too much and he felt like he knew me. He was like, you know, oh, I know that. I know what you're going to do. I know what you're going to say. And, you know, I'm thinking, well, how safe is that you're just predicting and projecting what you think, who you think I am, instead of taking the time to know that I'm evolving and changing every day. So I think safety also means that you leave room to really know your partner and know that they might wake up one day and, you know, say something different than they did the night before. Maybe the night before, you know, they were really gung-ho about some idea, and then the next day they just weren't feeling it. So I think even safety for me means the room and the flexibility to change and to be okay with that, and to know that with change comes growth and comes even more love and adoration, because now we're in another level of our relationship that's going to be promising. So for me, safety is actually flexibility.
I think I'm still figuring out too. Like I said, I'm single and I'm still dating. But I know I don't want to be, when I think of security, I don't want to be in limbo in a relationship. I don't want to be in a place where I don't know what's going on. Where we at? Okay, last week we had a big fight and we still ain't got a solution. what are we doing? I don't like feeling like that. And that's when I don't feel safe. Like, am I about to lose this relationship? Do I feel secure? No, because we haven't even settled our big argument we had last week. You know, like, you're not talking, I'm not talking. Where do we stand? You know, I don't like that feeling of like being in between. And I don't feel safe in the relationship. Like, whenever I have to wonder or I don't know, I don't like that feeling. I don't feel secure. Like, if I have like a feeling like you're like the attention is going somewhere else, I don't feel safe because I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Because you doing stuff you don't usually do, you know? And I'm like, okay, you're saying stuff that you don't usually say to me, you know? And it's like, okay, so what's going on? Like, I don't feel safe. Like, where are we? And that's where I feel like I'm in limbo. Like, and I'm a communicator. I like to talk when there's an issue. So if I'm coming to you and I'm feeling like there's an issue and we not getting to a solution, what are we doing? You know, I'm gonna start wondering. And if I can't get to the bottom of it and nothing's getting solved, it's gonna kill the relationship. You know, we got to this point because I wasn't feeling secure. That's when I think of security. Like, security is like, we good. You know, it's just like being in a house. When you think of security in a house, you know, you got your alarm system on, the doors are all locked, you feel safe. You can go chill, watch a movie with your family. You feel good. When you're in a good relationship and you're happy, you're not really worried about anything. You're good. You could chill, y'all laughing, y'all communicating, everything is good. But when things are off balance and something is different, it's like, you know, it's like coming in the house and like your house just got robbed. You don't feel safe no more. And you don't want to sleep there. You know, so something happened in our relationship. I don't feel safe anymore. I don't want to be here no more. What's going on? So when I think of security, that's what I think of.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Fontaine. But when I heard that, I didn't think in neither one of those directions. I think I went to a place of feeling secure and safe, like emotionally, maybe. It made me think about a time where I was at a party and with some friends, and we were there because we knew these guys that were there, right? Me and one of my homegirls from college. And one of the guys that we were there had invited us was someone that was kind of sweet on me. You know what I mean? He was liking me. It had been verbalized and everything. And so at the time, I was just kind of like, you know, like, I don't know, just like that, but we still cool, you know? So a situation happened where one of the guys that were there at the party actually touched the friend that I was there. She didn't know he touched her. She thought it was one of our friends. And so I said, you know, nicely, I said, hey, because she didn't know. She was turned around. I don't know what she was doing. You know, we were in our 20s. And so I was like, hey, she doesn't know you like that. Can you please not like touch her? And this guy just went off on me. I mean, I said it twice and I literally said it like in that manner, you know what I mean, with that tone. I'm just like, she didn't know that was you that did that. So you don't know her, please don't put your hands on her, pretty much. And he went off on me. And I was just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, just smooth off, called me all out my name, tried to talk about my appearance, all of this stuff. And the guy who we were there because of, like, we cool with these people, the person who was throwing the party, but we were only here because of you. You know what I mean? And he saw what happened. He didn't come up to me. He didn't say anything in that moment to that person. He never came up to me to say anything about it. The person who had hosted the party came to me and asked me if I was okay, checked on me, all of that. And, you know, at that point, my friend was like, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, let's just go type of situation. And what was so crazy is that in that moment, I had looked at him. He was standing on the wall. And I was just like, you know what, before all this happened, I was like, well, maybe I should, you know, like give him a chance or whatever. And then that situation happened. And it just let me know, like, you couldn't protect me in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, and it could have been possibly physical, or maybe he was all talk, whatever the case may be. But you didn't make me feel safe. I'm out in one of your friends' places. So that means anybody can talk to me any kind of way. In that instance, when we're in a more intimate setting, you don't respect me. I don't feel secure in that manner. So, I didn't talk to him for the longest. And everybody was just like, well, what happened? And da-da-da. I mean, and I told him, I said, he didn't protect me in that moment. You had a chance. You had been doing all this trying to get me, and the moment I finally looked at you and was like, okay, maybe this can happen, then someone disrespects me and you didn't protect me. You didn't say nothing to him. He shouldn't have been talking to me like that. You shouldn't have let him talk to me like that, and just went on about your day. Showed me who he was, and I believed it. And so yeah, I feel like if we're out in just an environment, whether it's his friends, his family, anything like that, you're gonna protect me and protect my feelings, protect me emotionally, protect me physically. So when you said that, that's all I heard.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with that, because it's funny when I hear security, I also think of like, can you protect me? Right. But not just physically, also emotionally, also spiritually, also, I think men have some really strong insight that we don't necessarily always have when it comes to reading a situation, as far as people's motivations are concerned sometimes, just from a different perspective. Like, we have intuition, there's women's intuition, but I just think that there's certain things that they can catch before us. So if they can, just focus on protection, like protecting me is a big deal, like emotionally, physically, spiritually. Because if those things aren't in line, like you said, like if you do end up in an intimate situation with this person, can they really respect you and physically, be safe for you? And there's all kind of things. I'm not gonna go down that road, but y'all know what I'm talking about and what I mean when I say
respect your feelings in that situation, whatever is going on. Respect how I am feeling and take it for what it is. Like, don't get mad at me because you don't agree or you don't understand how I came to that conclusion. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
Not me.
One thing I have learned about situations like that, because I do know another friend of mine, she was in a similar situation in a restaurant where her and her husband were having dinner and the waiter disrespected her. This man followed this waiter all the way to the kitchen. He ended up the husband ended up, you know how guys get when they take their shirt off, they ready to rumble. He followed the waiter all the way to the kitchen, like in his face, like, you owe my wife an apology. I think for men, I think men know that's what they're supposed to do. But I think for certain men, they can't do it because it's not in them. Yep. It's not in them. Because a lot of I could meet, it's plenty of guys over 30 that probably ain't never been in a physical fight in their life. They probably wrestled with their brothers or cousins growing up, but like a physical fight, like a defensive fight where you had to defend yourself fight, a lot of men have never been in that situation. And I'm not talking about hood men, guys from the ghetto that, fought and had guns. I'm not talking about men like that. I'm talking about just everybody. A lot of guys have not been in physical or verbal altercations before in their life. So when stuff like that happens, they lock up, and yeah, mentally, and how society is on men, they're supposed to be the protectors when it comes to situations like yours or the situation like my friend. Of course, you would expect that from someone, but sometimes you may not get that. You could be with a man and be married for 10 years and y'all finally get in a situation like that, and he might not step up to the plate. You'll be in disbelief, like, excuse me, we've been together for 10 years and you couldn't even jump up and defend my honor when this man disrespected me. Like, why are we even married? But you don't know until you get in a situation like that. Like, you can give the scenario to a guy and a guy can literally be like, oh yeah, I got you, babe, But I don't think you really know until you get in a situation like that. And I feel like that guy that you was at that party with, his main excuse will be like, well, you ain't my girl.
That better not
have been. In my opinion, he should have, because like you said, that was his open opportunity to show you, like, I got you, girlfriend. I'm sorry, y'all. I got you. He could have been out your knight in shining armor and he could have swooped you off in his horse and rode into the night. he could have got you that night. But I feel like if you would have said something to him, that probably would have been his excuse. I can hear a man now, like, well, you ain't my girl. Yeah, I can hear him saying that right now.
Yeah.
You know what though? My stepfather, he was a boxer, right? And one thing he taught us when he taught us about how to fight was that if you're gonna fight, you better be ready to like really throw down. If you're gonna throw a punch, if you're gonna push, like you really got to be ready to fight. Because I had gotten to a situation like that when I was in Sacramento in Harlow's. I was at a little concert and I was getting my drink at the bar, had my back to the bar, and this guy comes up, grabs a handful, and I turned around, y'all, and I was about to throw a punch, and I realized, ooh, don't throw a punch, just push him out the way and go on about your business. Because I was like, if I throw a punch, I have to be ready to fight because that is the mentality. If you throw hands, you got to be ready to like defend yourself. You got to be ready to go in. So, yeah, like you got to be ready for that if that's what you choose to do. So, yeah, there are some decision-making processes that happen in those kinds of moments.
I was actually gonna pose a question to you guys because this is something that I've always asked women and men just to see if they acknowledge it or if they know. But do you guys see something about male and feminine energy and how everyone houses both male and feminine energy? Do you guys respond to that or maybe relate to that personally? Because I know for me, I carry a lot more masculine energy than feminine energy. And what I mean by is I don't want to think of it as man and woman. I'm talking about the kind of qualities and traits that men and women have. Like, as you guys have mentioned, men are usually protectors and providers, whereas women are more nurturers and more emotionally tied and intuitive. So my first instinct is usually to protect and provide for people more rather than always nurture and emotionally understand them. And so I realized like, wow, that is important for me to know about myself, because for a partner or a man to come at me thinking that I'm just going to be so intuitive about the situation, that's not always my role. My role is usually, how can I even protect you? If you need something, how can I provide for you? And that's just the energy that I've always carried, even in my friendships and with my parents and with anybody that's close to me. Still nurturing. I still carry feminine energy, but I would say that it's a 60-40 for me. I carry much more of masculine energy in protecting and providing for people. So I'm just curious if you guys have seen that in yourselves and can relate to that.
I think I have. And the reason for me is because of the fact that I'm a single mom and I've never even lived with a man before. Like when I had my first apartment up until now, it's just always been me and my daughter. I never even lived with a man that I was in a relationship with. Like I've never had to share my bed or my bathroom. I've always done everything by myself, you know? So sometimes I know I would take on the role of being that person that protects, because I do have a child and I got to do a little bit extra because it's just me and her. So when a man comes along, I have to force myself to take a step back and be like, okay, this is his role. You can't take that away from him because he's going to feel emasculated if you do. You got to let him take care of you because that's what he wants to do. Even though I'm not the woman that looks for a guy to take care of me, but I don't care. I tell people this. I don't care how dignified a woman you call yourself or how much money you make. Every woman in this world want a man to come along and be like, baby, I got it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, Fontaine, you got to let him do what a man is supposed to do. You got to take that step back, because I'm quick to be like, oh, no, I'm good. I got it. But I want that in a guy. I want a guy to come along and take off the load from me. But then when he comes, I be like, oh, no, I can do it myself. I've been doing it by myself. Why I need you? But no, that's just the man in him. That's the man that's inside of him that makes him want to do that. So I have to teach myself to take a step back.
You know, I think that's really good, Fontaine. I would definitely say I have a lot of the masculine energy. And just from experiencing, current circumstances, is that sometimes, so depending on what you need in your relationship, I feel like say like the man has more of a feminine energy to it, that doesn't make him necessarily less of a man or less able to do his job. It just, I feel like for us, it's like more about how we end up interacting, if that makes sense. So sometimes, like, I still let him do like all the like important, all the masculine or the male like typical activity, male typical responsibilities. However, I think for me with my masculine energy, it's just more so about being a driver. Like, I'm very well scheduled. I'm very like, it's just certain things that I'm like driving. But I do believe that you could still have someone that has more of that feminine energy as a man, but it complements if you are aware of your energy. Because I have it, but there's times when it does conflict a little bit, where it's like, ooh, okay, we're both operating in more of our masculine energy at the same time. And I learned how to dial it down a little bit, because it said that, you know, the woman is the thermostat. Yeah, the man's the thermometer, but the woman's the thermostat. So we are able to like kind of go in and like tweak it so that way the energy is always kind of right. So I feel like, I don't know, that's a tough one, because if you find someone that's operating in high in their feminine energy, but they're still doing the male typical things, responsibilities, I feel like it could be a good match, and it really does work. But yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, I do operate a lot in that masculine energy. And one of the things that I've had to learn as someone that's in business and always like driver, is to do things for myself. So like I go get my nails done, right? I'll get my toes done. I'll do my own hair. I'll like wash my hair. I'll put a face mask on. I'll do stuff to make myself feel and get back into that feminine energy. Because self-care is like the biggest way to restore that. And I feel like when we're not caring for ourselves, that's when we tend to operate way more in that masculine energy, because we're taking care of everybody else all the time. So of course our feminine energy gets neglected.
Very true.
Totally. Yeah. I asked because I think with men, I truly believe that we all carry both masculine and feminine energy. And when I tell men that, they're like, man, I ain't no woman, and I'm a man and I do me. And, you know, it's like, that's real cute. Okay. But once you have a daughter and you need to nurture her, you're going to understand that you carry some feminine energy more than you have seen. And I think men need to tap, men usually are either forced to tap into their feminine energy. I know my father's a testament to that. He was 100% masculine energy until Ernest Sproul and later down the line, Christy Sproul popped into his life. And daddy became a nurturer. Daddy became emotional at times, in his own way. So I think that sometimes men have to pull out some feminine energy from just deep down. And women can help them do that. Circumstances can help them do that. Life experiences can help them do that. They see their mother on a deathbed, that will definitely help them do that. So I think sometimes circumstances pull things out of us that we've never even expected or imagined to see. I didn't really see masculine energy in me until I realized that there's so many people that I felt that I had to protect. And because I operate out of my overflow, and I leave my cup for myself, I was able to operate and protect and provide for people, knowing that I still have enough for myself. And that feminine energy that I carry can still, what you said, the honor and restore myself too. So I just think it's really cool to kind of think about life in a duality in that way. And I think being a Gemini is like, dang, that's my whole life. Like I always see life in a duality. So it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. I think I do operate, I guess, like that. I'm just always doing for others, and I just don't find time to take care of myself. And I've gotten to the point though where I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like I gotta have a self-care Sunday or something, you know, for me. Like last night I was working to the late hours. I was trying to watch a movie. And I was just like, you know, but I got all these people that I have to take care of, you know, type of thing. So it's just like, when do you find time, you know? But I'm the same way.
Right. I feel like, well, I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna say this, and it's a question, but it's a statement. I feel like for men, like how you said, they tap into their feminine energy when they have a daughter or when they see their mom on a deathbed or something. They have their whole lives been told to man up, toughen up, don't cry, men don't show emotions. Mm-hmm. And it's like once they become grown adults, it's like they don't want to cry. They don't want to share their feelings. They don't want to go to therapy. They don't want to do anything when it comes to feeling soft, because of the way they were raised. And like, do you feel like that's the reason why? Like, the response you got from your friend saying, "Oh, I'm not no feminine. I don't have no type of feminine energy." Him saying that is because of the way he was brought up and the way society do men. Like, you shouldn't be a punk. Don't let nobody see you cry. Don't show emotion. That's the reason why they don't tap into they try not to tap into their feminine energy. Like, when my mom passed away, all my guy friends that came to the funeral, they knew me since I was like a little girl. So they knew my mom very well too. So my mom was like a mom to them. They all was crying, but they all wore sunglasses. All the men inside of a church with sunglasses on. We know y'all crying. That's why y'all wore them sunglasses. So, they don't want to show that they got in tears. Excuse me, you are human. You can cry. It's okay. So do you think that's the reason why men don't want to really tap into their feminine energy?
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's totally conditioned. And I think for my dad, because he, I always, I gotta literally grip my dad to get a hug these days. Like, his feminine energy is very up and down, but I usually, so just out of curiosity, because he's the manest man I know directly. So I'm like, what's up with the idea of, I've never literally seen my dad cry. And, his father passed away, didn't see him shed a tear, just and men are very analytical and very problem solve oriented. So, he made me realize that, just because I'm not overtly showing my emotion doesn't mean that I'm not emotional or feeling anything in this moment. I think women, we can kind of wear our emotions a bit more on our sleeve than men, which makes them feel like, oh, well, women are just so emotional because maybe we are able to show it physically better. But men might not have the strong ability or want to even physically show emotion, but they're feeling something. Mm-hmm. Stillness and silence is also a form of showing your emotion. Not being able to communicate directly in this moment is also so I think that men show emotion more than we think. It's just that we may not like always the way in which they show it because we as women can't read it well. And then we're left, like you mentioned, Fontaine, kind of just in limbo about how you're feeling and what you want and what you're needing. Right. So I think that something I've learned just in interacting with men is really trying to understand how they express emotion.
Right.
And that has been helping me in seeing that, okay, silence, maybe needing space. For my dad, he kind of gets into a dark mode of like, I gotta work, or whatever that may be for a man to show, but not show their emotion has really made me understand that, okay, well, the same way I might show my emotion through, running up a check at like a restaurant because I'm really feeling myself. Or if I do cry, which I'm the same way, I'm not always going to be the crier, but if I do cry, showing that kind of emotion or getting my hair done to feel fly or whatever the case may be, it's the same way that he does when he needs space and when he needs times with his boys or when he's just, quiet today or when he's vigorously cleaning the whole house and I've never seen him pick up a broom. Like, those type of things will all be ways that we can show emotion. So I think it's just once again, just reading and understanding your partner.
One thing I just recently heard, and I heard this from a couple of men, a lot of reasons they don't show emotion to their significant other. Like, they'll show emotions to their mom or their sister or their brother, somebody who was immediate from growing up. But the one reason men don't like to show emotions to their women is because they may feel like the women may eventually feel like they can't protect them. And I'm like, wow.
I just literally talked to my friend about it. He said the same thing. And I didn't even think about it like that.
And then on top of that, a lot of men, it's going to be used against them.
Right.
You have to understand men are super sensitive. Mm-hmm. Like, they're the most sensitive beings there is. Like, really, like, we're not, they're definitely more sensitive. So when they do show that emotion, you have to, I guess, I want to say love on them, but you have to help them know that it's okay, that it was okay for them to show that, so that in the future they'll be more comfortable with showing that emotion to you, I guess. So I mean, I can understand, Fontaine, what you're saying for sure. I mean, I don't want nobody seeing me crying all the time, then they'll think I'm weak and all that stuff. So I totally get how they would feel like that. But if you do get the opportunity to see them in that, be vulnerable like that, then you have to just make sure that they, as best as you can, feel secure in that moment, so that they don't feel, weak, I guess, or whatever. So that you start to build that foundation, so they know along the lines, and they'll start to kind of let it, release it a little bit more as you go. And then before you know it, you can just, they'll hopefully be totally honest with you in those feelings and moments, so, but you just have to welcome it and nurture it, I guess, and love it, and just let them be comfortable when they're ready to be comfortable.
Right.
Sorry to cut you off, Theodora.
Oh no, I was just saying that's true. I was agreeing. It's a conversation. That's all. We're going back and forth. I think that's good stuff.
I'm ready for the next subject because I already know what it is.
It's good for me.
Let me wipe the sweat off of my brows because it's going to be a good one. Okay.
Yes, I did deliver. Okay, so sexual connection is what it is. So, but I do want to preface sexual connection with this though, because when we had the men's panel, I think that, okay, so I'm gonna put it like this. Sometimes people think, okay, sexual connection has to do with how attractive somebody is. Like when I say attractive, I mean like there's typical standards in society that people would consider, to be beautiful or attractive or handsome, right? But attraction is really like, it's a lot deeper than that, because there's people that where you look at them, we're like, how are y'all even together? Like it just don't add up, physically at all. But there's something between them that is, attractive, or that creates that sexual chemistry, that, that excitement, right? So let's talk about it.
Is it a question, or
we talk about it, sexual connection, because that was something that was really high up there for all of us. It was a 9.8. So why is that something that's important? Let's just start with that part, because I think typically the stereotype is that sex is more important for men than it is for women. And I'll be like 100% honest. I think I put 10 for this on my personal rating, because like I've went through something that was lifelong, where there was no sex happening at one point. Like, and let me tell you, like, when you are in a situation, and mind y'all, I was married in my early 20s, right? And divorced, mid 20s, late 20s. And sex is a key component, and having sexual compatibility with your partner. Like I have a high sex drive. I have a very high sex drive. So it's always the stereotype is that it's more important for men than it is for women. So let's talk about it. Let's just get into it. Go ahead.
Christy?
Yeah, because I'm like, I got some things to say.
Okay. Let me say this. I do want to go last because I got.
We gonna need an hour just for Fontaine. So no,
we're gonna let Christy go first, and she the expert.
Okay, I didn't know that. So
the rumors out there in the world. No, okay, so I'm gonna get deep and then I'm gonna come back because I know everything. I'm Socrates with everything, so I gotta kind of make it relatable but still be me. So it comes back to safety and communication and respect, right? Those are all characteristics when it comes to sex and how it should be important to you. Mm-hmm. For me, I know that it's very important to me because of the fact that, yes, I do have a high sex drive, which some men actually don't really know about me. And I'm like, well, naughty, you're not supposed to know, because if I really love you in that way, you're going to find out very quickly. Mm-hmm. If it's surfaced and if it's casual and if we're hanging out and I get a drink or two, you might not see that side. So I think for women, we are literally flowers. We come in layers and layers, and petal after petal gets plucked. You really get to see that that sweet sauce in the middle, the nectar of a woman. And once that happens, you really get to see how a woman can evolve herself sexually. It's very important. And I think all types of sexual experiences are important. I think to get, and I'm a sex educator, so I always get, graphic with teens in a very educational way about how, oral, vaginal, anal sex, any type of form of sexual experiences that people share are very important. And I think it's also great to set the tone for safety, consent, etc. But sexual connection is very important. If you're not having sex on the regular, that could say a lot about how your relationship is. Are you guys communicating on the regular? Do you feel intimate on the regular? Because I've had great relationships where I really want to always be jumping on them bones because of just how intimate we've been and how connecting we are on a daily basis. So very important. And I think that, the idea that men are more sexual, because they may show it more. But like I said, women are pecking off petals until we get to the nectar. And that's when you'll really see that we can be even more sexual than they have imagined. Because I remember one relationship, he was like, dang, I'm like, I know. It's called waiting for that type of experience. And I think because I'm not married yet, I'm like, I probably haven't even tapped into my real, cat, tiger, rare. Like, I probably haven't even done that yet because of the idea that I want to save a few things for my husband who I know will blown out the water. So we gon', I'll keep y'all updated whenever that happens. I don't know, but we gon' we gonna work through that. But I mean, I think having sex is very important because it sets the tones for like if you're communicating well, if you respect each other enough, if you're intimate. So totally.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Christy, because like from having been married before, like there's just an experience of having, consensual sex with someone that you are, planning to spend your life with, your eternity with. Because there's just such an openness. And that's one thing I think if we want to tie it back to how we talked about earlier, y'all, we talked about security and feeling safe physically and emotionally. And as when we start to feel really physically safe, emotionally safe, like we're protected, there's a lot to unlock there that may have not been unlocked before if we didn't feel, these levels of security, safety, and comfort and feeling, like our partner has us. And then they get to, when you do it right, you get to experience that from us. Because I think you're right, layers, the flowers, the petals, down to the nectar. That's so true. That's good stuff, Christy. That's really good. So you are the expert.
Well, no, I mean, I try to teach sex ed in a way where it's not icky, especially for teens, because they hear penis and vagina and ooh, and I'm like, all right, well, ooh, look down. We all have it. So now that we gotten that out the way, let's talk about it. Yeah. And I think even for having talking about sexual health and talking about sexual experiences, it's important to know that you can be in different stages of your life. Yeah. Grad school was a crazy time in my life. I was highly sexually liberated, and the word love did not have to be attached with sex for me. It was just what it was. And I think that energy in itself is powerful because as women, as long as we can feel safe and in control of any sexual experience, it can still be rewarding. And it doesn't always have to be attached to this idea that I'm not in love, so I don't know. And that's honorable because that's the way my mother did it. She was a virgin when she got married. Bless her heart. That's not my journey. So that's not quite my journey. And, that's fine. So I think that because of that, we can really house our sexuality in different, places and spaces and different time frames. And just because, I was a freak Nick back then doesn't mean I'm a freak Nick, as far as like where I'm at in life now. So I think just the transgression of your sexuality changes. And that's okay too. And I think that sometimes men hold you to a certain standard, like, well, last night you were on the pole upside down with your panties on your face looking crazy. I was loving on that. Let's do that again. And maybe that was a night after tequila. That wasn't every night, sweetheart. Some nights are going to be, I'm cuddling and I just want something soft and sweet. Some nights, I don't even wear wigs, but if I did, I'm switching wigs. I think that that level of expression in your sexual experiences in bedrooms can be fun and exciting too. So sometimes, when we talk about sex, it just sounds so taboo and that it should be done a certain way. But that's the idea of sexuality, is that it's a whole lifespan journey of finding what works and doesn't work for you and your partners.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good. With your panties on your face. That's going to be the quote for Christmas.
It be them nights, man. It be them nights. Okay. And I'm not going to tell all my business tonight, but it just be them nights. I'm just trying to preach to somebody.
I feel like it's important when you're in those moments and you're being intimate. I think it's important to not be selfish, in what you're doing and what's going on. You have to listen to your partner when they tell you what they need. You know what I mean? Because if they express to you what they need and what, gets them going and all that stuff, and then you're continuing to not, it's like I never said anything to you and it's just all about you, then I'm going to close up and we're not like, no, I'm good. Like, you want to watch a movie? You want something to eat? Like, and then, so I think it's just very important. And I think that also comes down to respect. If you're not really respecting the situation, respecting your partner, caring about their feelings and what's important to them and everything, then, they're definitely not gonna, respect you in that manner when you're being, when you're having sex or whatever. So I feel like you should definitely not be selfish in those moments, because then it's a done deal.
Agreed.
Because then they start to feel a certain kind of way when you're not wanting to interact with them. But it's like, well, when we do, you're not giving me what I need, and I've told you, so you can't really be mad when that doesn't cross my mind, And then that's when you have to start, seeing the door.
Mm-hmm. Don't let the door hit you. Mm-hmm. Bye. Come on now. Because, the thing is, when we open ourselves up as women, like, a lot of the stuff that goes on in our bodies is very internal, whereas a lot of what goes on outside of their bodies is very external, right? So when we open up, that's a big deal. So definitely listening to your partner's physical needs is really important in these situations, because we're really opening ourselves up,
Okay, y'all. So
I'm afraid. Are we going to go off?
No, I was so excited. I was really excited when I saw the numbers on this one, because I was like, yes, because like I do believe, and I've heard this before, even scientifically, women are more sexual beings than men. Like, yeah, men probably think about sex every 6 seconds, but when it comes to the doing and the actions, we love to be with, you know what I'm saying? And then we have the energy more than they do, because when they're done, we like, okay, so about 30 minutes, so, for me, I'm just going to say it. I love sex. Okay. I love it. So for me, it's extremely important that you mentally make me have an orgasm before you really make me have an orgasm. Like, because I can't date a guy that's stupid, because I'm like, I need to have some type of mental stimulation, some intellectual conversations. Like, can you make me laugh? Like, it's important that you make me feel good emotionally. That's that layer. We're flowers, right? So that's that layer. Are you peeling back my layer of mentality? Are you smart? Are you funny? Can you make me feel good emotionally? That's another layer. Then it's like, and then one of my rules is I don't really have sex until we're in a relationship, because that's that trust layer. Okay, now we're in a committed relationship. Oh, I trust you now. Okay. So now you can get all of me. And me, I'm only 34. This is why sex is important to me, because I'm 34. I'm young. My number one rule is I want to use this thing until I can't use it no more.
Girl.
So I want to try. I want to get it in, and especially if we're in a relationship and I trust you, you can get it anywhere, whatever time. We can be in Macy's dressing room. We can be at the bathroom, at the bar. I've done it because I was in committed relationships. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I trust you. So I'll be able to I'll get in trouble with you if it's sex related. You know what I'm saying? Because we are committed. We trust each other. I don't have any worries with you. I trust you. I trust you're going to ride with me because we got arrested for indecent exposure, okay? You know, so like, yeah, but we have to get to that point. Like you said, layers, they have to be peeled off. But yes, when it comes to sexual stimulation, it's extremely important to me because I'm too young to not be having sex. You know, I'm too young. I can't, like, see, my thing is when a person, and I'm no offense to either one of you ladies, if you have done this, if you get to a point where you want to be celibate, I just feel like, well, what did you do to make you want to be celibate? Did you do something bad that make you want to be celibate? Like, why you don't want to do this? It's fun. You know, like, you don't want this no more? It feels good. What is wrong with you? You do something too extreme and you like, you know what? I need to take a break. You know, maybe I need to do something extreme so I can take a break because I ain't got to that point yet. I don't think I'll ever be celibate because I'm not. And then my thing is, I feel good to talk about sex because I'm not a hoe. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud to say that I'm not. I've never been one. I just never been a person that slept around with different guys. Yeah, I probably have had some sex where it was like somebody who I wasn't in a relationship with and we were just sex buddies, but it wasn't multiple people. You know, I can proudly say that. But I'm like, I just can't see myself saying, oh yeah, I'm celibate, or I'm waiting till marriage, or I'm taking a break from. I know somebody who I know that just wanted to take a break from sex because they felt like that energy could be put into something else. Don't you have other energy for that? Sexual energy is for sex. Use your other energy for the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't use that in this. Like, I need sex. But and then, like she said, if you're stimulating me mentally or emotionally, and then with a guy, if you're making me happy, I'm gonna make you happy too. You know, because I'm a giver. I want to make you happy too. So it's like, I want to jump your bones. Like, oh, I like how he said that. Just like how Beyonce said in Ego, how she talked about how Jay-Z walked in a room. It's like, oh, she was instantly attracted to him because how he controlled the room. You know, we want to see that in our men. We want to see them take control. We want to see them, you know, be the man. And if you could do that in real life, and you could be the man, because I'm a person when it comes to the bedroom, I like my man to be in full control, dominated over me, you know. And if you could do that in real life, I see you handling your business, you take care of these kids, you paying the bills, you doing what a man's supposed to do on a regular basis. Oh, I could trust that you're gonna do it in the bedroom too. You know, so that's mental. I'm singing that every day. You taking care of business. It's like, okay, babe. Oh, something gonna be ready tonight. You know, it's like you doing your thing, you know, and that's not always a good reward, but you feel that you get that feeling sometimes. You know, you want to even you might want to do something different and do something special. You know, if you're not a person that wear wigs, pull out a wig. You know what I'm saying? Pull out them heels, pull out the fishnets, go to a different place. You know, you might just want to do something different because he's taking care of business. And I always tell guys this because I have like game night at my house once a month and we do like males versus females. And one of the things I always tell the guys when we're giving each other advice, I always tell them when you're consistent and your woman trusts you, she'll do anything for you in the bedroom.
That's true.
Y'all be worried about why you think we stopped wanting to have sex with y'all when we married? Because we mad. You did something. So why would I want to lay down with you? And it might not necessarily be cheating. You might have forgot to pay the light bill. Now I'm sitting here in the dark. Like, what the hell? Didn't I tell you to pay that thing yesterday? Now the light's back on. I don't even want to see you.
See, Fontaine, I'm going to interrupt you on that one. As a married woman, I will have sex with you anytime. When we doing it, I don't care if I'm mad at you or not. If you're my husband, you know, that's just what it is.
But at the same time, we've heard stories where they would stop having sex with their husband because they made them mad. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, because you said, oh, go ahead, Crystal.
It's them. I was just saying, yeah, it's mental. You gotta work on the week through the week or through the day or whatever. And yeah, the payoff, you know, is definitely later. But if you've been frustrating me all day and stuff like that, I'm good.
Yeah, I never felt like that. I was like, I'm a little mad at you right now, but I still want to get it. Can you just bring yourself on over to this room? But like,
okay, we'll work it out through missionary. We'll work it out through missionary. Let's see.
I love Christy.
We're working out through doggy style. Let's figure this out. I don't know.
Sometimes your head is clear after you got it in a little bit. I'm not
Yeah,
going.
I'm like, wait, I don't even. Right, as women's like, oh, I like the dark now. The dark is kind
You got some candles, put some candles out.
right, like, let's set the mood, babe. Let's set the
I'm telling you, I'll be like, well, it is what it is.
Now, I will say this though. The last relationship I was in, when he was mad at me and we had sex. Boy, because I like a man that talk. Ooh, baby. So when he was mad at me and we would have sex, the stuff he would say to me, I'd be like, okay, daddy, I'm sorry.
I won't do it again, I promise. Or maybe I will.
now I do
have sex when he mad at me.
Now, I do want to say this because I think that men sometimes get offended when we have to be honest about the sex game. Now, sometimes it's not just about having sex, but what is happening during. So, you know, when it comes down to like size and, you know, like motion of the ocean and, you know, all those things are taken into account. And I think that sometimes men get a bit offended, you know, when it comes to like, and I think, and I say that to say that sex is honest. Sex is, you know what, babe, I don't know what you did on that angle, but we're going to have to work through that. You know, let's think about some things together. Or him being honest with me, like, you know, babe, the pink wig wasn't really it. Let's try a green one. I don't know, but just that level of transparency to say that I don't think that was good. And maybe we can make it better together. Because men just get, you know, it comes back to sensitivity. They get real sensitive, you know, and not every woman's asking for a 10-inch schlong. Now, mind you, that is a blessing, but, you know, it's not always the case for men. So I think that working with what you got and just being proud and confident in that. I think confidence is key, too, when it comes to sexual experiences, because it's not just about like, you know, looking at Cardi and Megan, you know, flashing WAP all over the screen and thinking that we can too do that. I mean, if you can, great. If you can't, find a way to make it yours and find a way to really own your sexuality. So that's key.
So I've implemented something. What I do is I'll do this because it sets the floor and it opens it up for both people, right? So I always say, okay, improvements and highlights, go right afterwards. And at first it's something for somebody to get used to because it's like, wait a minute, she like asking me for like, you know, but I just set that tone and I'm like, hey, improvements, highlights, what did you like? What didn't you like? Right. And then it opens it up and then they're like, oh, well, what about me? And then they've asked for it. I haven't like said like, oh, can we like, no, I'm like improvements, highlights, go. What is it? What did you like? What was the best part? You know, like that kind of stuff.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm. And it makes it better. It just opens up a like open line of communication, but also you know what your partner likes and what felt good for them and what made them enjoy it more. And sometimes you'd be surprised it's not the things that we think that they are. So when I started doing that, I just got, you know, better feedback, or I just understood my partner a little bit more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will say this, no more faking orgasms. I want to just put that out in the world in case women are succumbing to the fake orgasm. I release fake orgasms in people's lives right now. I rebuke all fake orgasms. You know, it comes back to honesty. Like I did not, you know, I literally, I remember the situation where I literally was laying there and I was trying to give him the face like, now, you know, my face and you can tell now she might be doing her own thing because she's been wanting it for a while, but you see what's going on up here.
Robin,
I'm literally looking at you like stale. So what is this? What are we doing here? I think men get in their head, you know, and it's like, it's just about, like you mentioned, the selfishness. Like, I gotta come. I'ma just come. And it don't matter if she comes because I gotta come. It's like, sir, but did you look in my face? Because I'm stale. I'm done. She's working her own little magic, but I'm done up here. What is going on?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a mechanical thing for them. It's because the thing is they can do this thing repeatedly to achieve a specific result for themselves. So it's kind of applied. Remember, they're solution oriented. So it's kind of applied to us as well. That, okay, if I just keep going, I can hit a specific result, but that's not the case. So they're very mechanical too. That's why we got to break that down a little bit when we talk with them afterwards. Like, hey, you can't just keep going and expect to hit some kind of result. It don't work like that. And also, like, there's different types of orgasms. It's not going to always be like a explosion. Like, it's just, there's different types when it comes to just as far as, because for us, there is very mental too when it comes to that. So there's a lot of research and there's a lot of reading that folks should do when it comes to the female orgasm and what that looks like. Because once you know how to like identify it, then it's a different experience when you're starting to like put more focus on it, it's not just going to be this explosive, reaction every time. There's levels to it. There's different types,
Yeah.
That's good too.
Well, go ahead. No, you have one more thing to say. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say also, it was a whole thread on Twitter about the fact of how, I don't know if I can say this, of like how freaky women are compared to men. Because I don't know if y'all been in situations where, you tell your partner what you want. And my number one thing I say is I really don't have any limits. Like, I have maybe one or two things I will not do. But everything else I'm open for. Like, the things I tell guys I won't do, they be like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do that either. So, but then when I tell them what I do want in my fantasies, it don't never happen. Like, when I tell them in the beginning of the dating phase and the relationship phase, they be like, oh, that's easy. And you never had a guy do that? No, because when it comes to what I want, it gets pushed to the back burner. Because like you said, it's like they just worried about them coming. And it's like, you forgot about me, So I'm like, I wanted to ask you ladies, have you ever experienced that when it comes to like your sexual fantasies? Like the guy, it's like, oh, when we first started dating, you was like, oh, I do that. Yeah, it's fine. But then when it's time to do it, it's like, oh, you really was serious. Yes.
I don't even bother sometimes because I don't want to be set up for disappointment. I think I have to see in him that he is open sexually in the beginning for me to even express my sexual fantasies. Because when a guy kind of sees sex as one way, just and it's and bless their heart, but women have always been able to be more creative in how we express our sexuality, I think, compared to men. But I think because men talk about and think about sex more, that it's appeared that they are more sexual than women are. But we are extremely creative and extremely, the way our minds are too, the way we can think about something and immediately fall into that kind of character and role. I mean, that's incredible. So I have to see I have to see kind of the precursors first and then I can kind of determine, like, you know what, I am going to tell him I love pink wigs when I'm in the air. I will tell him that because he seems to be like the type of guy, or whatever fantasy it is. But definitely I have to see kind of where he's at sexually.
Yeah, I know. I have to do better and stop lying about orgasms. I do.
No more. I rebuke it.
I told myself to stop doing it. And I told myself to tell a guy when it doesn't happen, I'd be like,
because then he'll run around and think that is okay and that he's really the man. It's like, honey, boo. I have news for you.
Exactly. That's why I said I'm gonna stop telling them. To be honest, it's been doing for me.
Right.
It's so funny because, like, I think once you have one, like have a real one, a couple of real ones, then you stop faking. You're like, yeah, no, I know what it looks like. I know what it's supposed to feel like. Yeah, you didn't do it. You know what I mean? So,
because men are quick to say, if you don't do it, there's a woman out there who will. Well, baby, it works both ways. It works both ways. Because if you won't do it, trust me, all I gotta do is go down on Peachtree Boulevard and no, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying there's plenty of men that will. So it works both ways. And I think that's something that's always intimidating for men is for them to have the idea that, oh, I ain't good enough, and I try to set a tone where it's not about ego and all that kind of stuff. But if he wants to show his ass, it might, and I'm still working on myself, but I'm just saying that it can go to that level of don't try me, as far as just thinking that you are somebody. And really, I think it's the room to be teachable. So you might be somebody, but I got some things I could teach you as well. So you can really, connect with me better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would agree with that. And you actually meant to say Manchester and Crenshaw. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, you're right. I got my streets messed up. You're right.
Wait a minute, are you from Inglewood or not?
That's true, girl. Being in Atlanta for a year, I'm like, I don't even know where I'm at in life. But no, you're right. You're right. Florence and Slauson, if you want to go even further. Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to redirect, right? Redirect. And this time I want to hear Crystal a little bit more because Crystal, I know Crystal has a lot of good things to say, and I want to hear from her a little bit more. So I'm going to set the tone with this one because this will be the last thing that we talk about tonight. So compatibility versus chemistry, right? So compatibility is I feel like people use these terms interchangeably, compatibility and chemistry, when they're not necessarily actually the same thing. So compatibility is the natural alignment of lifestyle, choices, and values of two people. Compatibility is about the long-term potential of two people. Then chemistry represents the emotional connection when people are together, the spark, right, that people talk about. So we have these ones ranked as a 9.2, both of them. So let's talk about compatibility versus chemistry and why these two are very important.
Well, chemistry is very big for me. We have to vibe. We can be compatible all day, meaning have the same, like you said, have the same interest and concerns and things like that. But if you don't do it for me, you don't do it for me, and we're not going to be able to move forward. And it's, it's a lot of people would be like, oh, you should like this person because you both have this in common and da-da-da and da-da-da. But it's like, if I don't feel anything, I'm not going to just try to like somebody just to be trying. Something has to be there for me to want to pursue them, further, whether it's the confidence they have when they walk in the room, the respect that they have for people, for me when we're talking, different things like that. It's just a lot more. It's more important, I think, to me than compatibility, although compatibility is, you need to be able to exist, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you're not doing anything for me mentally or, I guess stimulating me sexually, then there's nothing, we can't really move forward. And so sometimes I just have a sense of discernment and I can kind of just feel out a situation, or I get a vibe from a person and I just kind of already know it kind of, probably wouldn't work out. So.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm real simple with it.
Yeah. We're talking about compatibility versus chemistry, y'all. So the difference of your lifestyle choices, the long-term compatibility, and then the chemistry, that initial spark. I think that was really good, Crystal. You talked about discernment, right, when it comes to people. But I think people that don't necessarily have that skill of discernment can sometimes get swept away by chemistry before looking into compatibility, right? I kind of look at chemistry as like, how fireworks, they go up into the air and then they fizzle out? That's kind of how I look at chemistry if there's no compatibility backing it up, So I definitely think, that having that discernment really helps when it comes to, we have chemistry, and then we can move forward from there, if they're able to, right? That was really good, Crystal. Anybody else? Feel free to jump in.
I think for me, compatibility is very key, as well as chemistry. I think they definitely go hand in hand. Something that I've always experienced is kind of one-way compatibility, where he's totally into me and I just can't seem to feel the same way about him. And I'm like, man, what is it? And how is it so different? He's like, man, Christy, you just everything, like my checklist, boom, it's ... And I'm like, well, there's just things on my checklist that you're just not meeting. And it doesn't make, and I think the emphasis is that immediately you feel like, well, dang, I'm not good enough for this and that. And it's like, it doesn't make you a bad person. If there's the next woman who's just as amazing as me that swoops you up, that would make sense because you are an amazing man. It's just that for me personally, that chemistry component even with our compatibility, it just doesn't fit me. And I think that we need, that people need to understand that it's very personal, how we understand chemistry and compatibility. And that, because I've had male friends who's like, I do a lot, and, and there's women that love them and that think they're great, but I just personally haven't been able to make that kind of connection. And it's just because of my preference and my emotional attachment to a person compared to the next woman. So it's very intimate. It's very just focused on the individual. And it shouldn't be taken personally, because I think that's the biggest thing, is like, man, I'm not good enough. But no, you're good for the next person.
They take it personally.
Yeah.
And they start getting the attitude, just, I've had a lot of situations where guys have liked me, expressed it and all that. And it's like, if I don't like to be put in a corner and forced to have to come up with something to make you feel better. It's like, if I'm shying away, don't pressure me, because then you'll actually get what I really want to say to you. And a lot of times I don't want to be mean, and I don't want to say all that, and I mean, it's unfortunate. But I mean, if there's no chemistry, if I'm not feeling you like that, then I'm just not feeling you like that. And I'm not going to force anything or go along just to go along to make you feel better. I'm suffering along the way. Who does that? I don't. Right. So I just got to take it, when they get upset or they switch up on you, just because you don't feel the same way, then it is what it is. And I can ignore a person, because I've had that happen a lot of times in the little hangout groups, that I be in, or that I've been in, I guess. And so I just have to be like, all right, well, I mean, I'm not that girl, so I just have to be okay with the situation if I'm going to still be hanging in that group or just whatever. But yeah, they get so sensitive, and then now they can't look at you anymore. They talking in third person. It's like, I'm right. No, like I literally had this happen. I was out with a friend, and then, one of the people that was liking me, and, it really wasn't reciprocated. Before this conversation, or before, something had, I guess, happened, it was all, okay, well, what y'all drinking? Da 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 da. Now it's like, what she want to drink? She's like, she right there. Like, I'm like, I want this. Like, I'm right here. Like, come on. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it is what it is, but
yeah.
I want to share something with y'all on my screen real quick, because I think this will help illustrate this so people understand a little bit better, right? Because sometimes people think that just because I'm compatible with you means that you have to be compatible with me. So
yeah,
the circle here, in this instance, the circle was Christy, right? Christy, there's a guy that Christy was talking to, right? So he was really happy because Christy was meeting all his needs. Christy in this example is the square, right? So this guy's needs are all being met. But see, as you, the square, there's still gaps. You see these areas that aren't being filled that he's not filling because y'all aren't compatible. You're a one-way compatibility. So Christy's the square, he's the circle. He's all happy and good and great, but there's still those areas that are missing for Christy, right? So we have to stop being kind of selfish about that part when it comes to, hey, we're just not meant for that person. And it's just because of the fact that you don't meet all my needs. And that's okay. You don't meet all my wants either sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 7 billion people in this earth, and I'm only meant for one person. I'm going to kiss some bad frogs. You're going to kiss some bad frogs. This idea that, like, you met me, and now because you met me and we get along, we're supposed to ride in the sunset together is crazy to me. It's like there's things that I require as a woman, and even standards that maybe no man can reach, because I'm just that kind of, so I also need to just kind of understand that my list is going to change and shift too. But there's some things that just won't change, and some things that are written in stone that I need. And, because we get along cannot be the precursor for a lifelong, a life together. It has to be more. And I think that women require more constantly, and men, they're pretty content with some things. They'll, as long as you look good and, you have a good job, I have a good job, and we laugh and we get along. Sometimes for guys, that's more than enough. And for women, that's our bare minimum. That's the standard. You're supposed to do those things. But what else are you doing for me that makes me feel that, wow, you know, day in and day out, I can really rock with you. You can be my person.
So how do you ladies feel about, I say guys, I'm from the country.
Yeah, I know.
But what you got ladies feel about the concept that the male in the relationship should be more into the woman than she is into him for the relationship to thrive? Because I feel like that's what my relationship has to be for it to thrive, because I still want that chase. You know, I want to give him that power to make him feel like he's in control, you know. And I need a man to be more into me than I am into him. Not necessarily saying that I'm not into him, that I'm not attracted to him. I just don't want to be thirsty, like all up on him like a toddler is or something like that. Like, I just need him to be a little bit more leaning towards this way than I am leaning towards that way for it to be successful. And that's just me.
I like that. Yeah. I think for me, it's like, I want healthy competition in our romance. You know, I did something. Now he's like, she bought me the Rolex. Now I got to buy her the Movado, or I don't know, but it's healthy and it's fun. And we're always one-upping each other in the way that we want to love each other, because we never want it to be stale and we never want it to be old and just kind of settle in this idea of companionship, you know, because marriage, after some years, it can just be companionship. You know, I live with them. They pay, you know, we help on each other's rent. They're pretty much it's a roommate in your relationship, you know. It's just, now you just become good old buddies instead of really partners and intimate and romantic and, you know, constantly kind of building fire. So I definitely see that. And I think I feel that because a lot of men kind of get more lax than women. And like you mentioned before, like, women are always ready to, like, babe, I love you, and what's the next thing, and how can I show you next, and how can I give you more? And men are kind of just like, well, you know, I pay the bills, baby. I'm tired. I'm gonna come home. I'm chill. You know, you good? We good. It's like, what? No, let's go out. Put on some clothes. We're going on a date. You know, so we're always wanting something new. And I think men kind of get a little too complacent. So I like the idea of healthy competition.
You should definitely continue to date. You know what I mean? Do the things that you were doing to lock me down. You know what I mean? They say men love a chase, so you should always provide them the opportunity, I guess, to chase you in that relationship, I guess, you know? But you definitely should continue to date and do those special things that you were doing in the beginning to grab the attention and to, like, lock each other down, I guess. And so maybe they should love you just or a little bit more, or care for you a little bit more than maybe you do, just so they have that. So it'll be a chase about it to them. So I guess they'll stay excited for it and in it, I guess. So,
I would also have to add to that and just say that, like, yes, I agree with all of that as far as, like, still kind of, you know, dating along the way, still providing, like, a sort of a chase, but also we don't want to give the perception that they can't get it. Also, that's the thing. Like, we want to make sure that, you know, yes, we're providing a little bit of a challenge, and there's challenges and there's ways to throw out standards that need to be met throughout the courtship and throughout once you finally get into a relationship. But we just want to make sure that they don't ever feel like they can't have it though too. You know what I mean? Show them what they can get, but, you know, don't let them get you all the way, but show them what they can have, you know, when it comes to being with you. I think that's the only thing that I would say when it comes to that part, you know, just make sure that they know they can get it.
Totally.
Was that it on chemistry and compatibility? Okay, well, I didn't really want this to end, but I guess that was the last one. I mean, we had one more on here, but I mean, after everything that we talked about, it's kind of like, yeah, all right. I mean, it's important. It was a 9, you know. The last thing that we had on here was my partner needs to be successful too.
Oh, that's very important. Yeah, let's not skip that. Hold on.
I just been here for 2 hours, so I wanted to make sure I was respectful of everybody's time because I only requested an hour. So, but if we want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I'm cool with that. So let's get it.
Oh. I know for me, like, it's very important because I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to work. I would say this, and I don't want to offend anybody or make anybody feel some type of way, but I have always saw myself, and I do still see myself today as a person that takes care of her family. Like, I just see that in me. Like, I see myself just being this person that I love being a homebody. So I would take pride in staying at home and not working, and my husband being the worker and being able to make enough to take care of us financially without me working, because I love to cook. I love to take care of my kids. I want to take care of my husband. I want to take that load off of him. And then on top of that, I do like being in control. And I feel like when you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a little bit more in control of everything because you know what's going on, So I do see myself being a stay-at-home wife. Not necessarily saying that I won't bring in an income. I just want to stay at home and do it. So it is important to me that my man is successful financially, and not necessarily saying it's gonna happen, because I might end up with somebody I'm in love with and I still have to work, and that's okay because I've been working my whole life. But I would love to get to a point one day where I don't have to, or I could just do it from home, which that's what everybody doing now anyway. But I just see myself being at home, taking care of him, taking care of our kids, taking care of the house. I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm not a lazy person. It's just I've been working a job since I was 16 and I'm tired.
Yeah, I think success is truly a big factor in relationships. Even in relationships, we always see finances being one of the biggest reasons why marriages and commitments don't work. So it's so important to address that elephant in the room of like, hey, babe, okay, well, what are we doing financially? What are some things that we can do to increase our money, increase our thoughts of entrepreneurship, or just our thoughts of taking care of our future generations, in financial wellness and stability. So it's very important. I think, me being 28 years old, it's kind of in that realm of like, some men are still getting it together while I seem to have it together really well in my finances. And so that's always been a detriment to me dating, is unfortunately just some men still not figuring out career wise and not taking initiative to, because sometimes, it's not even about the fact that I've been able to do all these things career wise for myself. It's the initiative that I've taken to make sure that I'm set up in a way that I can be comfortable. And also, if I'm ready for a commitment, I can actually bring something to the table. Whereas men, they think that the charm and the smile and the good dick is really a way of them being adequate enough for a relationship. And it's like, well, where's your money at? Like, really? I mean, money makes the world go round. We can't deny it. We can't sugarcoat it. We can't fluff around on that. We got to make money to do what we have to do in life successfully. So levels of success look different. I mean, money is one part. I think we can look at success differently. Everybody has their own story of that, but we can't ignore that the bills have to get paid, and that men need to take initiative on where they see their career going and what they really want to do with their lives, and how that also can influence what they see in a relationship. Because you are not ready for a relationship you can't pay for my date. You're not ready. I'm sorry, you're not ready. You're not ready. Go back to the drawing board, figure it out. And it's not even on some like, oh, that's all you want. No. That's a precursor to see what you can do. If you could pay for my meal, then I know that you could probably pay for a bill, like a light bill or a utility bill. And if you could do a utility bill, you could probably pay for a mortgage or a rental property, right? So it's not just seeing what I can get out of you. Because most men, and I've noticed that in Atlanta, that most men think that women are just trying to find, men to take them out to STK every Friday. And it's not about that. For me personally, now I know some women do that, and they could do it. But for me, I know that it's important to just see if you're capable of taking care of me. Buy that $40 meal that we have, or buy that like drink that you bought, or whatever it takes to show like, okay, now I see how you move just in a date and how you could take care of me. Then I can see where we can go in the real world.
So I don't also just look at what they can do on a date, because I will say from some interesting experiences that, yeah, they gonna do on the date, but then like you down the line, you like, wait a minute. you was doing all of this on the date, and now you ain't got, 2 cents to put together to your name, like for your actual priorities, because you already splurged your priorities on me on a date. Like that don't add up for me. So when I think of like successful, I think of someone that's financially responsible. And what I mean by that, you don't have to be balling outrageously, but are you responsible with what you do have? And how do you manage that? Right. I look at that as a big thing. Also look at like, okay, yeah, you spent on a date, but what does it look like in your day to day? You know what I mean? And also when it comes to like my partner needs to be successful too. Is my partner happy? And that's one big thing that's, I think, more important for me than anything else, because like Fontaine and I are a little bit different on that scale. I'll go out and get the work done. I just need to know that you at least know what you're going to do and you're happy and, successful in that. Because I know that I'm going to be, balling outrageous at some stage, right? So as long as you're happy and you're fulfilled and you know who you are as a man, I'm cool with that. We're going to figure out how to go ahead and get some money coming into this house, whether it's your skills or my skills, but are you happy and you know who you are? Because like I've seen some men that do make a lot or they are in careers, but they hate them, and then when they come back or they come see you, it's just like, you're miserable. You know what I mean? So I don't know, kind of look at that too.
I feel like, when it comes to finances, you need to be able to do for me what I can do for myself. Like that's just kind of like a minimum. And yeah, success is whatever that means to him. But the career path that I have and the type of money that I make and am able to make and probably will make, he's probably going to want to be successful so that he, you know what I mean? Because men, that success and the money thing, that can become ego driven, you know what I mean? And they can start to resent you and have all kind of feelings because you're making more money than them. But, and so they have to be secure in whatever their profession is. And, if they have dreams and they want to get to a different financial bracket, okay, well, what are you doing to get there? And then if you are content with the role that you have, okay, but what can we do to build generational wealth, and just passive income with what you do have coming in? With what you have coming in coupled with what I have and can part with, how can we grow this? So they got to have a good mindset when it comes to money as well, so building it, spending it. I like to travel, but I can do everything on a budget, but don't like not want to do these life experiences because I guess you're tight with the money or you don't have it, I guess, so you definitely got to be able to enjoy the little things in life, because we can't just be going to work just to be going to work and pay some bills. Like money is meant to be spent and to enjoy life. Now we're not going to go for broke trying to go out here and do this and do that, because tell me, we can set a budget and I can stay within the budget and get creative when it comes to enjoying life, but for the type of success that I have had and the things that I just like to do in general in life, and experiences I like to have, they're going to need to be successful to the best of their ability financially, and they're going to have to be mentally able to be okay with how I like to do things, I guess.
Right. When it comes to, as far as dating, when it comes to finances, like, yeah, and I'm in Atlanta too, girl, so I know, like, everybody here just feel like all the women here just want money, because most of the women here are more successful than the men here. You're in the Black Mecca. Women are successful here. They're very educated, because hello, Spelman, we're very educated here. We have way more money than men do in Atlanta. So it's like men be trying to get with women who have more than them, because like, okay, but you don't even have as much as I do. Why would I date you? You really think I'm gonna date you? But I always tell men, I tell my friends this: treat me like you tell your daughter she should be treated by men. So you would be okay with your daughter dating a bum? No. So why you think it's okay for me to date a bum? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then one of my friends in college, he looked at money and dating in a great way when it comes to how women look at money and dating. He looked at it the same way women look at it, because of the fact that his daddy taught him, what are y'all gonna do? If you don't have a job and you're not making money, what y'all gonna do? That's how I look at it. Like, what we gonna do? Because I ain't paying for everything. You know what I'm saying? And then, like she said in the beginning, like, yeah, I want to go on dates. They don't have to. I don't judge off of the dates we do. You know, it don't have to be extravagant and all that kind of stuff. But I look at dates more of a fun thing. But at the same time, you're paying. So how are they supposed to get paid for? Because to be honest with you, I don't bring my wallet with me when I go on dates. Because I know for a fact you paying for it. But we're not even gonna have that conversation. Now, when we get to the point where I like you, then yeah, I'm gonna be like, hey, be ready by 7. I'm picking you up, you know. But but yeah, in the beginning, I feel like it's just be easy. Like if y'all have already had the conversation that y'all gonna go Dutch, or y'all already had the conversation that, you know, she might be paying for it, then okay. But it's a unspoken rule. The guy is gonna pay for the first couple of dates. Like, let's be honest. Like, and I don't understand why guys have to have a conversation of why are we having a conversation about this? Like, you're wrong. You don't know that. Why? No, I'm not. So I guess we're not going then. I guess we're not going then, because I'm not. You know, but finances are extremely important because at the same time, like she said, generational wealth. I look at generational wealth when it comes to, like, if you're married or you have a child with somebody. For me, it's about what you teach, because it's that I think it's a Bible thing, maybe, about like I can teach you how to fish.
Teach them how to fish. You can feed
I can give you the fish, but I'd rather teach you how to fish. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, for a lifetime.
I feel like when it comes to finances, I'd rather teach my child. You know, of course, Bill Gates ain't leaving his kids a dime. Him and his wife, they already have it written down. They not getting 1 cent of his money because they have been in plenty of positions. He have put them in positions to make their own money. Their money is already going towards charities when they die. They not getting 1 cent. That's how you supposed to raise your kids. Like my daughter getting all my stuff because I only got one child. But at the same time, I'll be glad to know that I left her with the mindset to make money. You know?
Totally.
So I think we keep talking about the very extreme levels of it, where someone's just like dead broke, or someone is really like making money. What about the people that are like the guys that are in between? You know what I mean? Where like they're handling their responsibilities, but they're not ballers. Let's talk about like that, because most of us, I'm gonna be honest, there's
well, that's me. I was gonna say that's me. I'm not a baller, but I can stretch a buck and we're gonna have a good time doing it. So I think it's just the creativity. Yeah, you gotta be creative with your dollar bill. It's not just about having because people blow a whole stack on a small little section in the club where the chairs are really uncomfortable. And I'm like, this ain't fun. But we just blew $1,000.
And you gonna stand up anyway.
Right. And we could have been somewhere in Mexico sipping on Mai Tais the whole week. So it's the creativity and it's the thinking outside the box. And I think that's something I emphasize in what I want in a man all the time. I can't have status quo. I can't have mediocrity. If you're going to step to me, you come with something different. You come with something fresh and new. And you come with knowing who you are. And no matter how funny your money is now, I want you to have the mentality to try to intentionally make it better for yourself, because you see me doing that. And like you were saying too, Crystal, like if you see me, on my stuff, I would hope that it would be some form of inspiration for you to be on yours, if not more.
I believe in everything you said. Put it perfectly.
That was good.
Amen.
Done data.
Well, I mean, it's true, but I guess my biggest point is, and this is something I'm just going to say for everybody on the live that's listening, because one of the things that we got to look for when we are dating, when we are courting, and we're thinking about turning this into something long term, one thing you got to pick up on like extremely quickly, and I'll say this could be the detriment of a relationship, is that if you don't pick up on whether or not somebody is even willing to grow, that's another thing. Because when you get married or you decide like that's it, right? Someone could start off here in the middle, right? And this is where they're at. We have no guarantees if they're going to go up. But if they go down, I feel like we could at least expect them to get back to where they started, which was right about here. So I just think that that's something that Because when we say I do and we like decide that that's it, like we really are committed to who they are at that particular time and who they are. And we can't guarantee that they're going to get any better. So you got to look for and know if someone actually has a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Because that's where, like, sometimes women, I feel like we get into the trouble of looking at somebody's potential versus who they actually are. And so that's just something I wanted to throw at the end of there, because, you know, we could be wanting our partner to like match our hustle, match our effort, but did they start off like that?
Yeah, not gonna marry potential. You gotta be either, you gotta be there, or you know what I mean? Like, you gotta have that mentality before I say I do, for sure. You gotta have shown me, you know, along the way, once it was kind of brought to the light, like what are the steps that are being, what have you steps have you taken? You know, how have you progressed in that manner? Because I'm only gonna continue to move forward and stuff, you know, so gonna have to get on their game for sure.
Indeed.
Like, I feel like I know I'm probably going a little bit off subject, but just to say this, I think in the beginning of this this conversation, I feel like it would have been important for us to know each other's status. And I'm not trying to get in nobody's business, but like, I'm single. I've never been married. I've been engaged twice, but I've never actually been married. And now at 34, I don't want to get married. I don't have any desire to. I do want to be in a relationship and I do want to fall in love, but I don't think I'm somebody's wife. You know, because we're talking about dating and like the whole subject is about what women want in, you know, relationships. And it's like, I feel like it's important to know a person's background. Like, Thea, I know you are divorced and you have experience, you know, when it comes to marriage, and you have a certain view on things because you've been married and divorced. So I feel like that's important to know that, you know, putting it out here. Like, just like how we said we're in Atlanta, we do this. I think we should have went like, oh, well, I'm not married or I've been married, because it's about relationships and we're giving our opinion based on our experiences.
Yeah. Now that we know that, how about we all just go around real quick and you can say it from your perspective as to like how you just mentioned, you know, you've been engaged twice, like you've expressed why, you know, where you're at relationship status wise. If y'all want to actually share that, I won't put anybody on the spot, but feel free if you want to share where you're at and why, you know.
Fontaine, I think that's really cool to say, because not all women want the same things. You know, not all women want to get married. Not all women want to have children. Not all women, you know, want the same things in general. So I think it's really good to point out that we all are different in every way, and to go into a relationship assuming who you know of me to be is not going to be good. So for me, I'm 28, I'm single, been in some relationships, but I do hope to get married one day, and I do hope to have children one day. So God willing.
I feel that.
I am single. I date here and there, you know, just because the type of guys that approach me, I'm just like, I had a really bad dating season some time back, and I was just like, I wasn't missing nothing. I'm pretty good. So for now, I'm just loving where I'm at.
I appreciate that. And single is a time like where you really focus on, okay, what are you looking for at some stage? And, you know, figuring that out, and, you know, you learn your likes, dislikes, and then spending time with yourself is some of the best stuff that you can do before you get into a relationship. Like, I love being by myself, you know. I was married when I was about 22 years old. I was very, very young. And I actually, because of how career driven I am and how, like we talked about that masculine energy, how much of a driver I am, I could have never told you that I was going to get married at 22 years old. Like, that just was not something that was appealing to me, right? And so I ended up getting married, and, you know, I learned a lot from that experience very early on. I would advise anybody to wait as long as they can. If they can wait till, like, I would say at least like 28 on up, because you learn so much about yourself. You discover so much about where you're going, your career, you know, choices, who you are as a person, what your habits are. Because they change when you come out of college. Like, you're in a very If you've gone to college or you've been at your parents' house, you come out and you're on your own now. You're in a very controlled environment before, and then you come out and you just get married all of a sudden. Because I got married right after I graduated, right, a couple months after. And you definitely learn a lot about yourself in the process of being married. I learned so much, and I was just like, it helped me be very honest with myself as far as things that I know that I can improve on, things that I know I am good at, and things that I'm willing to stand up for. And you start to learn what those things are through a committed marriage like that, because you can't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Eventually you might get divorced, but that's not most married people's first go-to thought. It's like, I can't go anywhere. Like, I'm with you. You know what I mean? So it really puts some pressure on you to figure out who you are. Currently, I have a honey, but like I said, from having been married, I'm taking that real slow.
Wow.
Turtle speed, because you know what? Like, over time, that's when you learn about someone. It's not the first 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. You learn over time if you can count on somebody. You learn over time if you can trust someone. You learn over time if they get you emotionally, spiritually, like we talked about earlier today. So time is really the biggest test. And it's not through the good. I think Christy might have been the one that said it. You don't learn somebody through the good stuff that happens. You learn them when stuff is bad, Like, how do you react? How do you respond? That's when we learn who somebody is. So time is the only indicator that allows you to see all of those things. You'll never know somebody 100%. That's a fact. But you can see if who they've shown you can love through tough times. I think that's the most important part, Yeah.
Amen to that.
Somebody getting hit up right now. Who are they?
That was me. Sorry, y'all. That was me.
You ain't gonna be single for long.
See y'all later.
It's a hotline over there.
It's gonna be another conversation on finding true love. No,
on episode 2.
I do think we should do this again, because I feel like definitely that we've loosened up over the last couple hours from where we started to where we ended up today. I feel like we definitely loosened up and we built some rapport, and it was fun. So think about maybe something that y'all want to talk about, because I usually find these things online and I do some research. But if there's something that y'all three think of that really honestly is like close to your heart, or something that you just want to talk about, like let's do that. Let's have fun with this, because I just feel like the dialogue around relationships needs to happen, because I feel like a lot of stuff happens behind closed doors and we never get to learn from other people's experiences until we go through it ourselves. And then they're like, oh girl, I've been through that too. Well, wait a minute. Why didn't you tell me so I could avoid that same pitfall? You know what I mean? So I just feel like these conversations are very invaluable when it comes to just becoming better human beings. I feel like ever since we started doing this, I've learned so much about myself and so much about other people's perspectives, and it just really makes you stop and think, So I definitely appreciate everybody being on today. Y'all have any last words, any last thoughts before we close it out?
I just want to say, I know I'm the only one in the world that don't want to get married, but I just want to say, I feel like I want women to stop losing themselves in marriage. I hate to see that. I have a really close friend who just got married, and she's already lost. It's only been a year, and she has neglected the things that have made her happy. And I'm going to hate the day when she looks up and realize that she stopped doing things that made her happy for her. Yeah, you got your kids, you got your husband, but what do you want for yourself? So that's just the advice I want to give. I hate to see women do that, because we the only ones that do that. Men still have their buddies. They still do football. They do everything they did before the marriage. But women, we don't do that. We neglect things because we want to be focused on our husband. We want to be focused on our kids. You can do that and still be happy and have a life of your own. Own something that only belongs to you.
That's good.
Yeah. I think for me, parting words would be always love internally so you can let love flow externally. I know it's cliche. You have to love yourself first, but you really do. You really do. And I think that the journey of doing that is important too. And operate out of your overflow always. If you don't have enough in your cup to give to others, just wait until the overflow, and you can give as much as you want. But if there's nothing in the cup to give, keep that to yourself.
Mm,
Give it to yourself.
Mm.
that's a word.
I got quotes for days. I'll give y'all a few if you pay me well.
I'm so simple. Listen, don't settle. Don't be the only one compromising. I mean, don't settle is the big thing. Love yourself. Somebody shows you who they are, believe them, and just don't settle. You don't want to look up and just be married with children and all this stuff, you know, just to say you have a man and just to feel like, okay, well, I have somebody. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like a lot of women, and you know, a lot of women, that's what they do. So my biggest thing is just don't settle. Don't be the only one compromising. It's a two-way street.
Mhm.
You're not going to be happy. You can't. He cannot be the only one always getting what he wants, you know, all the time. I mean, it's gonna tear you up on the end. It's gonna kill you. You're gonna die. Your spirit is gonna be so low, and that's not gonna be good for anyone. Because if you don't take care of yourself first, there's no way for you to be able to take care of anyone else and give them the love that they need from you and that they desire from you until you can give that to yourself. So, my parting word.
That's good. That's good stuff, y'all. Thank you, each and every single person on this call, on this live. This was fun. I had a good time.
Fun. Yes.
I have the topic for the next episode too already.
Me too. Me
Okay.
too. So we good.
I got a good one. Can I say it?
Wait, I'm gonna end the broadcast because we don't want to tell everybody. I'm gonna end the broadcast. So we'll see y'all later. We'll talk about it right now.
Okay.
Thank you guys for being on. See you guys later. Bye everybody.